First, we have to stop dealing with illusions. We cannot ask the people who programmed us into oblivion to program us out of it. So far as I'm concerned, education has but one honorable purpose, one alone. Everything else is nonsense. And that is to train the student to be a respectful and a responsible handler of power. People do not train you in how to take their power away from them when they hold power by controlling you. To expect this of other people is a contradiction in terms. Freedom is something you do not wish upon, you do not dream upon. Freedom is something you take with your own hands. It is never secure until you take it with your own hands. Mm-hmm. You do not leave it for another generation. Each generation must in turn secure it with their own hands, even if you leave it to them in a will. It is not secure until they make it secure with their own hands, their own bodies, and their own minds. And so long as we avoid this reality, someone else is going to dictate the content of education. And when people dictate the content of education, they're dictating what goes into your mind. And when they dictate that, they're going to dictate agitation. They're going to dictate your action. And though you might lie about it, so long as you are in this position, you are some form of a slave. And it is incumbent upon you to free yourselves from it. You educate yourself to come out of it and do not expect others to do it for you. We stop begging at the door of people who reduced us to beggars.
Because there's a whole lot of illusions about Africa's relationship with other people in the world. There's a whole lot of illusion about our relationship to the religions in the world. And these belief systems that had its origin in Africa, all of them, and there is no exception, turned on African people. I said there is no exception. And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said there's no exception. There's slavery and imperialism. Who are you kidding about friends in the world? Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror. There's 1 billion African people on the face of this earth. Why are you buying third-rate junk from third-rate people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin to hold your child's diaper together? Teach. Who has programmed your mind to thinking you can't make a car? The first man that made a car that had never seen one previously. The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world. Yes. Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well?
But Brookins and the others learned they themselves did not understand their people, did not know the intensity of their rage, and could not plumb the depth of their hate.
Because I was on Avalon last night. See, and I'm going to tell you something. Tonight it's going to be another one, whether you like it or not. Wait. Listen. See, we, the Negro people down here have gotten completely fed up. And you know what they're going to do tonight? They don't care. They're not gonna fight down here no more. You know where they're going? They're after the white people. Now they out, the white people, they gonna congregate. They gonna caravan out in Inglewood, Playa del Rey, and everywhere else the white man is supposed to stay. They gonna do the white man in tonight, and I'm gonna...
You know what's gonna happen if you kill yourself, you know what's gonna happen? What? The media is gonna tell their own story. I don't care how people know what I've done. But X, we want to know. Can we find out? If you not see the proof, be fighting. That's what I'm doing. If I was a soldier and I was killing Iraqis, y'all would be praising me as a hero. And now that I kill y'all with real terrorists, now what? I'm mentally insane. But is it going to be looked at that way, X? I don't care how people know. But I'm saying you're doing this for black people, right? Yeah. How is black people going to look at it? There are many of us who feel the way I do. I understand that. But maybe if you tell your story on some type of news channel, the people who don't feel you will feel you. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kwame, there's been too many people talking. They're talking over. It's time for revolution, brother.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another live broadcast on the forecast. Shouts out Consider in the building. What's going on, Consider? Thanks for coming through. Black Maggots, you got ripped off. What's going on, my brother? Raw, always, you already know. Yeah, play it over and over. You know, and yeah, you go after different thing, depending on what you go after, then things will change. You know what I'm saying? So like today is like, you know, I'm on here because I didn't even see anybody even talk about it, but like, you know, Ida B. Wells, it would be her birthday today. So like if I had to pick a hero out of anybody, I would, you know what I'm saying, pick her, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, when I be like, you know, I'm mad about like I didn't learn about Ida B. Wells, so I learned about it on my own. And really the things, everything that she did, you know, and all of the situations and how still the same stuff going on today, right? When we look at it. But when I'm saying that, it's like, even when we talk about CRT, it's not like, I'm like, oh, you're right. I don't want them to teach my children. But the point is, we're not teaching our children because why aren't we understanding like who different people were, like instead of the same things? And you know what I'm saying? And even when we talk about like what we was talking about last, I didn't even think the Negro spiritual thing would be, you know what I'm saying, crazy. But like, you know, people even thought like I was going at MG, like I wouldn't go at MG2, that's my elder. And I understand what he's saying when he be like, you know, I'm tired, because that is what it is. But at the same time, I do say that, you know, like some people haven't had that same experience. Like in comparison, I would say my brother MG2 teaches like college courses, and this is like, and no offense, because it's just a comparison, but like this is like a kindergarten class, you know what I'm saying? Like that's why you see a lot of the children with the big crayons and stuff like that. But even when he was on my brother MG2, like when on Bakari show, I was listening to that, I would have hopped on, but I was like tired, you know what I'm saying? And he was going in, he was on fire, you know what I'm saying? Like, and y'all listen to MG2 because, like I said, it's like a college course, you know? And he asked those brothers, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing to, like, prevent this? Like, what are you in particularly doing? You know what I'm saying? And he like, yo, do you patrol the neighborhoods? You know what I'm saying? Do you do this? And we don't even have a realistic view on reality. That's all I'm trying to say is like, you don't have to be damn Spider-Man. You know, I think everybody should be out there walking to exercise and like walking your neighborhood. I live in black areas. Like I would say, you know, even where my parents, where I grew up, like it was black. It was all black people, but it was like a middle class black neighborhood. And yeah, you outside all the time playing, but like I guess I have an excuse now. So like I have my dog, you know what I'm saying? You could walk around the neighborhood and just watch out for things that's happening, at least anything, you know what I'm saying? Like even nowadays you have your cell phones and all this stuff to protect you, But in prior days, they didn't have any of these things, and they was not just talking. But I do think talking is important, because at some point we lost control over education, our children's minds, who our heroes could and can't be. Things that people have done for us, and even things that we need to do to ourselves, we don't understand that. So like, even when you walking out there, of course you would hope to encourage, or like, like you would get at least, like, you don't have to get 100 brothers, you could be like 5, but you would want some kind of backup when you're out there, because no matter all of the great things people done, it's hard to do things on your own, and it's still our responsibility to inspire, encourage other people to like, and that's not saving everybody, but you at least gotta at least if you're not educating your children, which is why I'm gonna be like, Ida B. Wells Day, because if I had to pick a hero, it would be her. And to me, I would say she's probably, it's who I would pick, as a leader, as, or one of the most gangster Black people that ever lived and like have fought for us. And it's the fact that nobody really talks about her or brings her up in any of these things, when she was like really the first one doing it in most of these circles. Like, a lot of the people kind of got their talking points from her, And before, I was like, I wanted to do an episode, Bakari, not an episode, but a live with Bakari, like Ida B. Wells versus Marcus Garvey, not as a competition thing, but more as a, like, to display what these people have done, kind of thing, But of course he ran, because Ida B. Wells is the truth, But so I'm gonna just kind of go through it, just like who she is, what she do, All right, hold on one second. All right, give me a second to pull it up and get it right, All right, so yeah, I'm going to show you like just some of the stuff that, and even what she was doing and the time she was doing it in, is a reflection of what Black people was doing. Like, how we think we was taking all these L's, we was really not. All the things that we talk about, yeah, they talked about the same things, but they was doing stuff, creating organizations. But I'm gonna just go through this sister's, kind of life, because it's like interesting, So, on this day, July 16, 1862, she was born in Mississippi to James and Elizabeth Wells, and it's talking about how our great granddaughter is talking on it, but her father was a slave. Her mother and father were both slaves, but he was never whipped or put on a auction block. And so, like, of course, like 1965, supposedly slavery had ended. So her father, he was employee, and I'm I'm gonna play this one, because I'm gonna just let it be easier if I just let it do this. That's why I even made it this way. And probably everyone gonna have commercials, even though none of them did at first, but it is what it is. But this is talking about her father and some of the things that he did, and then I'll go back to what I was reading.
And thank you for tuning into Noir History. Wells was born into slavery in Holly Springs, Wells. When the war ended, her father supported the family working as a carpenter. Having learned this trade enabled James to avoid the financially exploitative system of sharecropping that doomed many other Black people to poverty. To achieve further progress, Wells's parents learned how to read.
Now, see, this is the thing I was about to say. Her father, he was good with his hands. He had skills, so he was working for a white boy. And then when he learned when they was doing Reconstruction and they had to vote, his boss was like, yo, well, you gotta vote for the Democrat, which would be the Republicans today, or you're going to get fired. The Trump of the day, if you don't vote for him. And he was like, no, I'm voting for my own people. I'm doing my own thing. You know what I'm saying? Because the brother was an activist. Like, he started out as an activist. And Ida B. Wells was like, the first time she heard about the KKK, it was about her mom, because her father used to be at activist meetings all the time and did organizational things and helped other brothers in the community. And he encouraged his children to do the same, you know. And her father was a straight G himself. He was going to these meetings, and her mother would be like worried that the KKK would like catch him or something. You know what I'm saying? Yo, what up, Bukhari? Yeah, I don't know why you can't see the chat, bro.
As Wells's parents learned how to read, they saw to it that their children also received an education. The Wells also tried to help other newly.
See, all right, so yeah, and that's also important too, because they couldn't read at first, and they made sure that she was literate. And then her mother even went to school with her so she can learn how to read. And like Ida B. Wells helped their parents learn how to read, because you know they couldn't read coming out of slavery, so they made sure that she knew how to do that, you know.
Also tried to help other newly freed people progress by joining an aid society, becoming politically active, and helping to establish the HBCU Shaw University, which is now Rust College.
All right, so, and that's, you know, so her father was a part of helping to establish a black school made by black people, you know, and he was a Fisk University, you know what I'm saying? So her father was a part of that, you know what I'm saying? So like you said, he was skilled and able to build his own life. He didn't go protest when his boss fired him because he didn't vote for what he wanted to do. Damn, the chat is gone. I don't know, y'all. I can see y'all comments. I don't know. Yeah, I guess they wilding out on this one. I guess I was already done violated something. But I don't know if y'all can still see it, you know what I'm saying? Let me know. I'll keep going, you know. But so anyway, yeah, so I'm sorry, Shaw University. And then it became Rust College, you know what I'm saying? So her father served on the board of trustees. He said our job was to go to school and learn all we could. Her mother attended classes alongside of her, and he was active and encouraged his children to do well in school and do the same, you know. So yeah, let me so there she kind of learned how to write and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, let me play this one part. And so this is where she got nice at like writing. All right, you see me. But yeah, I don't know why the chat is gone. I just looked at it. I don't know. But yeah, that's you know, it's as to be expected, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, this is about her learning how to read, you know. Not read, but becoming a writer. She took actual courses to do this, you know what I'm saying? Right, yeah. Yo, what up, Awana? So this is where she kind of learned how to write, and it's kind of interesting, like how it happened, you know what I'm saying? But like how she became who she was.
Would be turned upside down when she was 16 years old.
Oh yeah. This is when her parents died, you know what I'm saying? So her parents died when she was away. So she took control of her own children while going to school and doing all of that. You know?
It was the summer she left home to visit her grandmother's farm.
There was an epidemic of yellow fever that went throughout the country, and particularly in the South.
She knew that people had fled Holly Springs and assumed that her parents and siblings had died.
Were already there and busy making
to Holly Springs.
She returned to find that her youngest brother had also died. Well-meaning charity workers were already there and busy making plans.
There was talk of how different people were going to take different responsibility for Ida's siblings. And Ida was like, no, you know, we're not dividing the family. We don't do that.
Like, yeah, we don't do that. We don't break our family up. Like, I'm going to take control of the family. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know y'all mean well, and like the community activists of the day, because like, that's the thing. Black people stuck together. Like, so there were other people that was going to be like, all right, yeah, we're going to help them out, make sure that they good. And Black people looked out for each other to that point where, you know what I'm saying, they would meet at the house, but she still was like, yo, thanks, but no thanks. You know what I'm saying? I got this.
She had grown up hearing stories from her mother about being separated, sold from her family.
So there was supposedly a shotgun on the mantle, and she got the shotgun. I was like, look, I'm going to take care of family. Like, oh, why didn't you say so?
All right.
16-year-old Ida found work as a teacher and took on the role of breadwinner with the help of her grandmother.
After teaching a country school all week, I came home Friday afternoon, 6 miles out from town, and spent the time from then until Monday morning washing clothes, cooking food, and preparing things so they could do without me until the end of the next week.
Yeah, so you know, and I'll leave it there. And I also said about writing just a minute, because it goes with the next part, because she was always like outspoken. You see, she grabbed the shotgun off the mantle because, you know, Black people was armed back then. Like every Black home had arms in it because they already knew what was up. You know what I'm saying? But she was like, you know, thanks, but no thanks. And then as she became a writer, she has always been like super outspoken, right? And one thing, and I'll go back over it, but like she was like not, people felt some type of way because she always told the truth about him. You know what I'm saying? She didn't bite her tongue for nobody. And then people got offended by what she says, you know. And I like I said at the end, but at the end, she said, she was like, man, I wish that I could have been a little bit more nice so I could have made more friends. But, you know, it is what it is. And sometimes I feel like that, you know what I'm saying? Like you say certain things, they was like, yo, you just too much of a radical. You just too wild. You tripping. You offending too many white folk. You know what I'm saying? All of that. But
she discovered her passion for writing. In 1882, Wells moved to Memphis, Tennessee, where her career as a journalist would begin. She became co-owner of a local newspaper where she wrote passionate editorials and conducted in-depth investigative work to shine a light on the widespread acts of lynchings in the South.
Now, one of the things that's important, because she understood as a teacher how, and especially teaching her mom, like how when you do things, you got to make it clear that everybody can understand what you're saying, so that a baby understands what you're trying to convey. You know what I'm saying? She understood that. And when she was writing, she was like, I try to never use certain words that I don't think people will understand, like who isn't as literate, because I want my people to get the message. You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that's underrated, because you do have to make sure that your message, everybody can understand it, and not using different things, you know. All right, yeah, definitely. All right, Cassandra, I got you. Yeah, what's going on Oni? So all right, it's talking about when she you know, her people got sick, you know. And she was like, this is her words: when I thought of my crippled sister, of the smaller children, all down to the 9-month-old baby brother, the conviction grew within me that I ought to be with them. So she went back, you know, so it's saying that, trying to get to a part. All right, so yeah, and so throughout her writings, when she first started writing, right, she was like, it's clear that religion is important to her, and she was a part of a church. But the thing is, right, see, this is where she first started pissing people off, because people listen to her because she was good at what she does, you know what I'm saying? But she used to call out the preachers, the Black dudes who was like kind of wilding out in the church, you know what I'm saying, and cheating on their wives and doing all of this stuff, you know. And this is when she like was like, no, I'm gonna call y'all out on this, like y'all tripping, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they was like, yo, if you do this, we're gonna tell the congregation not to listen to you. They was threatening her and all kind of stuff. She was like, yo, I don't care, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all is like wilding. So she used to call out dudes for like wilding, and you know, of course, the preachers, some of them took advantage of the congregation, and she started calling them out, like even as she was young, you know what I'm saying? So then of course she had to go back to You know, so she was taking care of her kid, of her brothers and sisters, and you know, so she had to travel back and forth. And so she was on a train, you know what I'm saying? So she traveled on the train all the time back and forth. And like she said, she would come home, make sure that her brothers and sisters ate and got to bed and did their homework all at 16 while being a teacher of other people. So like that was her first job. And then she ended up getting fired because she called out the racism that's in the black school system because she was writing about it and documenting it, and it became popular. And so she was saying all the same stuff that we say about the school system today back then, but it was times a million, right? How the black schools is like terrible, and you know, like probably the curriculum, and then you know, the Bakari of her day got mad. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you going at Fisher University? Why are you talking about HBCU? So she probably had to deal with that, you know, because it's the same thing. So while she was on that, and so this is when she came to. Now think people think that what's it, Rosa Parks was the first one to challenge. She was literally the first one to do that, you know what I'm saying, sitting, and her stuff was real, you know what I'm saying. So let me play this part. No, I ain't want to play, but this was the best one. I wish I could have played something else, but
Ida's Aunt Fanny
She saw it as exciting as a young woman.
path.
damn, my bad. See, this played like the whole time without a commercial yesterday too. Like,
Just weeks after her 21st birthday, Ida boarded the morning train to Woodstock, a first-class ticket in hand. She was dressed in white gloves and a corset, carrying a parasol.
She was petite. She was a little under 5 feet and very well dressed, obviously very well spoken.
During Reconstruction, blacks had the rights. So she had ridden on that car several times over the past couple of years and was entitled to do it.
She chose a seat toward the back of the first-class rail car. But minutes later, the train's conductor brusquely informed her that she was seated in the ladies' car, a fact Ida was well aware of.
now get this, she was sitting in the ladies' car, right? And like if you read her books or like her autobiography or any of that kind of stuff, but I want you to understand the wording. They was like, she was like, I'm a lady and I'm sitting in the ladies' car. And they was like, no, you cannot possibly be a lady because you're a Negro. And we consider that not persons or non-human, but persons for their law's sake.
She chose a seat toward the back of the first-class rail car. But minutes later, the train's conductor brusquely informed her that she was seated in the ladies' car, a fact Ida was well aware of. The conductor insisted she move to the smoking car, a lower-class carriage where men could often be found cussing and gambling.
As I was in the ladies' car, I proposed to stay. He tried to drag me out of the seat, but the moment he caught hold of my arm, I fastened my teeth in the back of his hand.
Now, they tried to pull her off. She was like, yo, get up and go to the other car. And she was like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know they'd be like, yo, Rosa Parks and all of that was the first one. She did that like 50, 60 years. This is 1880 something, 1884, I think. And she bit the train conductor when he tried to make her get up. And she straight bit him, you know what I'm saying? And then it took 3 dudes to get her off of the train. You know what I'm saying? She was like, I'm not riding up there. Yo, what up, my brother Bobby?
It took 3 men to forcibly remove her from the rail car, in which she put up a fight, literal fight. And when she was removed from the car, the passengers cheered.
Now get that. Now I want, because it probably is a couple things that Ida B. Wells probably would have cussed me out for saying something to her about, you know what I'm saying? Because even though I think she's the hero, you know, but what I would have pointed, like, and I'm not going to do that. That's like, but on this lady car, which they considered white bitches, you know what I'm saying? So it's a train full of white bitches clapping that they just roughed her up and threw her off the train. You know what I'm saying? Like, these is a crowd of white, this quote unquote ladies car. Like, see, they're not going to like break it down to like what it really was. It was a a car full of white bitches clapping that these 3 dudes came and beat this 5'1" woman up 100-some pounds, beat her up and threw her off the train, and they clapping. You know what I'm saying? But you think they're like allies? You know what I'm saying?
It took 3 men to forcibly remove her from the rail car, in which she put up a fight, literal fight. And when she was removed from the car, the passengers cheered. You talk about something that infuriates someone, that absolutely infuriated her.
Ida struck back by filing suit against the railroad company.
She sued the Chesapeake Railroad and won.
So she's probably like the first person who's done this, you know what I'm saying? She was the first person who did a lot of stuff. She got pissed off, and so she sued him. And initially she won. It was like 5,000 or 500, which would be like kind of like a couple thousand today, you know what I'm saying? I'm not sure how much. Y'all know inflation better than me, you know. But in 1882, she would have won like $500.
And was awarded $500.
The judge found the railroad company had violated the law by forcing Wells to ride in a car that was separate but unequal. But the lower court's decision would not stand.
The Tennessee Supreme Court essentially attacked her personally to say that she was just being disruptive, that she wasn't a lady as she pretended to be.
See, that's what I'm saying. She was like, the Supreme Court said that we overturned this and you should not be in the ladies' car because you are not a lady. You know what I'm saying? Like, now they was kicking her. She wasn't being belligerent when they was kicking her off. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know how they do, you know, but, and that's the thing, you know how they do. And see, this is where Ida B. Wells was like, you know, that wasn't really paying attention to race that much. You know what I'm saying? She was like, oh, I guess it's going to say it here, I hope.
I have firmly believed all along that the law was on our side and would, when we appeal to it, give us justice. I feel shorn belief and utterly discouraged. And just now, if it were possible, would gather my race in my arms and fly away with them.
See, I guess that's when she kind of became woke. Like, yo, I believe that in the law, like, I'm not breaking the law. I'm a lady, you know what I'm saying? Like, they see you as a Negro, you know what I'm saying? So you get in that smoking car that's for the Negroes, but, you know, the white boy and, you know, back then it was like the train smoke would come out. So it's like right in the front, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like smoky, but they told her to get out of there. And she was like, yo, I thought that, you know what I'm saying, like the law would protect me, but this is a damn shame. And she was like pissed off and hurt. Is like she became like woke, you know what I'm saying? This was like her woke moment, you know what I mean? So she sued them, and you know, they talk about it, but they was like, they said lady, and the thing, she cannot be a lady, so therefore, you know, you don't, and this is the Supreme Court talking. You know what I'm saying? And this is well after Plessy versus not Plessy versus Ferguson, but it's before that. It's after the Dred Scott case, you know what I'm saying? It's after the so-called 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment and all that. And they telling her she can't be no lady. And then she was woke, you know what I'm saying? And she was like, I refuse, saying that the Ford car was a smoker and I was in the lady car. I proposed to stay. He tried to drag me out of the seat, but at that moment he caught a hold of the moment he caught a hold of my arm, I bit his ass, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, man. And I want you to understand that, because like we talk about this citizenship and we doing all that, but you know, before the Birmingham bus boycott, she was saying, calling for a boycott of the joint, and she was like, anybody who break this boycott, you know what I'm saying, like, yo, I'm gonna put you on blast, number one. You know what I'm saying? We is not spending our money if they not treating us like whatever. So she did the Birmingham bus boycott with the train company, and I guess you'll see that in a minute. All right. So what's next? Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm gonna go to this one. So this is the thing. So of course she became a part. She started writing under a different name, and of course she started getting in trouble once people started knowing who she was because she didn't bite her tongue, but she didn't change it, right? So then in 1892, right, it says she published Southern Horrors. Right now, like I said, she became a writer. But after this event, right, because she was still under a little bit of a delusion that it was fairness and justice in the world. But I want you to hear, like, this is when she kind of realized, you know what I'm saying, what was up. This is when she became the first one to call out these white bitches. They try to always call her a feminist. She was the very first one to call out these white bitches. Show me somebody calling them out before then. Like, y'all scared to call them out now. But she was on it, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it pissed her off. But this is the catalyst to it, you know what I'm saying? Because before then, she unfortunately was like, you know, well, she said herself that I was infiltrated with their program and that maybe the Negro who got lynched deserved it because maybe he did rape a white bitch, you know what I'm saying? But then when they saw when she saw what happened to her friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, and she knew he was innocent, this would made her turn up, you know?
Mode. In March 1892, Thomas Moss, a friend of Wells, was murdered at the hands of a mob.
Yo, I think everybody should read Southern Horrors. It's true. It's not even long. I got the actual book is like 30-something pages, 30 pages maybe, you know what I'm saying? But she broke down what I try to display to y'all all the time. Like, she broke this down in 1800s, you know what I'm saying? 1890 something, 1896, 1892, I mean. Right? She was going in, you feel me? And it's more things because she was the truth. Like, she, like, you know, the courage that it took for her to do these things, you know. But this is what happened to her friend that even set her off, you know.
Was murdered at the hands of a mob. This would change her life forever.
Thomas Moss, in so many ways, sort of was emblematic of what was happening, of the rise of blacks in the South. He did everything one just had to do to rise, and was just a sterling citizen.
Everybody in town knew and loved Tommy, an exemplary young man. He was married and the father of one little girl, Maureen, whose godmother I was. He and his wife Betty were the best friends I had in town, and he believed, with me, that we should fight wrong whenever we saw it.
He believed, like me, we should go out there and do something, you know what I'm saying?
Moss, a mail carrier by day, was a part owner of the People's Grocery, an African-American-owned cooperative store. The People's Grocery was located in South Memphis at an area known as the Curve.
It was seen as a outstanding thing in the Black community because it gave them an opportunity to, first of all, patronize their own.
Ain't that something? They made a grocery store. Ain't that something? And not only grocery stores, that, like he said, this was the war that you're in. When you building stuff, you know what I'm saying, you have to be prepared for like the attack, you know what I'm saying? But they was like, yo, we can't go to these white stores. I'm going to open up my own store in my own community. Something that we talk about doing. See, they talked about it, but they did certain things, you know what I'm saying?
People, and it helped to sort of infuse the belief that Black entrepreneurship could flourish in Memphis.
And this is the thing, like, back then you probably likely to be cool with somebody who owned some business, you know what I'm saying? Unlike today, you feel me?
The success of the People's Grocery escalated economic tensions with William Barrett, a white grocery store owner whose business was also in the area. In early March of 1892, a game of marbles escalated into a fight among African-American and white children who were playing outside the People's Grocery. The fight grew quickly. Soon a large crowd was engaged in a brawl near the cooperative. Allegedly, 2 employees of the People's Grocery, William Stewart and Calvin McDowell, joined in the skirmish.
Barrett.
Now these white boys start attacking these the black kids, white kids and black children got into a fight playing marbles or whatever the hell they was playing. And then these grown adults start going at these black children. And so these brothers saw that and went to go protect these black children, black teenagers, or, you know what I'm saying, or whatever that was being attacked, you know.
Tried to get the place shut down, and he went to the authorities in Memphis and reported that the place was a public nuisance. And of course,
and so, all right, so and it was the white store owner who was getting all of the Negro money, and he was like, how dare this, well, he didn't say Negro, he said N-word, you know what I'm saying? And he was like, how dare this N-word open up a grocery and take away my clientele, my customers, probably going out of business because black people would probably support each other back then. They probably was like, I can't wait not to go to these stores because they overcharge us, they give us terrible stuff. And his brother here has got a store that's good. And so the white boy was mad. So he reported him, you know what I'm saying? He probably was part of the KKK and probably just down there, whatever. But
place was a public nuisance. And of course, the authorities in Memphis at that time were all too willing to accommodate Mr. Barrett.
A Shelby County judge deputized William Barrett and a group of white men. The judge gave Barrett permission to take action against those running the People's Grocery. Fearing retribution from angry whites, the owners of the People's Grocery asked for protection from authorities. However, that protection was refused. On March 5th, 1892.
No, maybe you can give them a pass because this is 1892, but and this 2023, we still asking for protection, and they tell you the same damn thing. But look who they got protection from, you know, or, you know, who did give them protection.
The owners of the People's Grocery asked for protection from authorities. However, that protection was refused. On March 5th, 1892, Barrett and his men armed themselves and marched towards the People's Grocery.
The African-American man who owned the People's Grocery had gotten word that authorities were coming to look into the charges that had been filed by Mr. Barrett. And so there were several other black men in the store at the time. And sensing that there may be some trouble, they were indeed armed.
So this is what I'm trying to tell you. Black people was strapped up back then. They was not arguing about the guns. He was like, and several black men came down there like, yo, we got you, man. We at least gonna try to help. Like, I don't know if we're gonna win or not, you know what I'm saying? But they was ready for the war, you know what I'm saying? And black people was about that life back then. And that's what people don't even realize. It was like Ida B. Wells ain't get it out of nowhere talking about shotguns, you know what I'm saying? Her father probably had a shotgun on him when he went to those meetings, you know? And this is the thing, like only now in history, we don't have this courage that they had, you know? And so black men gathered together to protect that store. You feel me?
Indeed armed. Law enforcement officials who were not dressed as law enforcement, they were actually dressed in plain clothes, showed up and
came down there in overalls.
Pretty much raided the place. As a result of the raid, shots were fired.
They shot
Thomas
back,
Moss,
yo.
Kevin McDowell, and William Stewart were later arrested and held at the Shelby County Jail.
Even when they were in jail.
Now, in this particular case, they shot back, but in this particular case, you know what I'm saying, they did surrender to them, you know what I'm saying? But everybody already know what happened if they get you, you know what I'm saying? It's 1890 something, you know what happened, and then you didn't shot back, but they were shooting back, you know what I'm saying? But some people did not just go out like that, you know?
There was talk of a lynching that was going to take place because they had shot these deputies.
Beginning in the late 19th century, whites used lynchings, horrific and unlawful executions, to tear the lynching. This is the Shelby County Jail. Shattered on March 9th, 1892 at around 2:30 a.m. when 75 white men wearing masks surrounded the Shelby County Jail.
And see, this is where we talk about with numbers, like, you know, this is why, like, it's not, I'm human, you know what I'm saying? Like, backup is okay, you know? And if we can encourage others to get back up, because they might show up with 75 people, but you can show up with 100, because we used to send them running, you know what I'm saying, in some cases, but in some cases not, you know.
While they slept, a body of picked men were admitted to the jail, which was a modern Bastille. They took out of their cells Thomas Moss, Calvin McDowell, and Will Stewart, these 3 officials of the People's Grocery, put them on a switch engine of the railroad which ran back of the jail, carried a mile north of the city limits, and shot them to death.
The newspaper, the Appeal Avalanche, was tipped off that the men would be taken from their cells. As a matter of fact, a reporter, once he got the tip, showed up and was there to report it all.
The ringleaders in the assault on the deputies who raided the Curve last Saturday night are missing from their cells in the Shelby County Jail this morning. It is a reasonable inference that Judge Lynch has passed sentence upon them, and that this...
They call it, that's disgusting. They call it Judge Lynch. Like, I didn't even know that, but this is a name that they had, like...
sentence has been executed. Not a gun was fired, not a shot was heard, until they read it in this morning's Appeal Avalanche.
AKA everybody was on code.
The people living in the vicinity of the jail will not know that the Avengers swooped down last night and sent the murderous souls of the ringleaders in the Curve riot to eternity.
From the newspaper columns, it was said that Thomas Moss begged for his life for the sake of his wife and child and his unborn baby. That when asked if he had anything to say, told them to tell my people to go west. There was no justice for them here. That Calvin McDowell got a hold of one of the guns of the lynchers, and that a shot was fired into his closed fist. Where the 3 bodies were found, the fingers of McDowell's right hand had been shot to pieces, proving that those who wrote the newspaper piece were eyewitnesses or got the facts from someone who was.
No one was arrested for these murders. Soon thereafter, an angry white mob ransacked and destroyed the People's Grocery.
The lynching at the Curve was shocking, particularly because there was no accusation of any crime, and it made...
was the first one, and a woman, to realize that lynching had its base not in the myth of Black men being attracted sexually to white women, but that it was an economic means of keeping the Black folk down. She was the first one. I mean, this woman had some brains.
Yeah, and she was definitely the first one. And y'all should check this out, you know. And it's not only that, she was like, yo, you know, these white bitches is attracted to Black men on top of that, you know what I'm saying? And what she said pissed them off, you know what I'm saying? They got hot, they was pissed off, they got mad. And what she was telling was the truth, but some clicked in her head where she was like, yo, hold on, my friend ain't messing with no white bitches. He's doing something. I know he got attacked about this store. And then she started looking into it, and she realizing, like, yo, this is a whole economic warfare here. And white bitches is the scapegoat, and they use that as the, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, yeah, I might say stuff about, she was the first one to call out white bitches, you know what I'm saying? So, and she understood what the lynch law was, you know, because she also documented when white boys would rape, like, yo, this one white dude raped an 8-year-old Black girl. Now, he did get arrested, but like at the same time he was in the jail cell, they pulled out some other person of a jail cell and they lynched him. You feel me? And so, like, yo, she realized what it was. It just clicked in her head, like, yo, this is a different kind of warfare. Like, they just use this, but this really an economic warfare. And then on top of that, like, yo, brother, like, she wasn't hard on the brothers back then, I guess, but it's like, yo, brothers mess with the white bitches and they will doom you every time. Bobby said, I used to talk to my aunt. Her name is Ruth Miller. She was born in 1912 and remember when she was a little girl and used to see lynch mobs going to get brothers. Yeah. And that's the thing, like at the time they would she realized this, you know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm like, y'all should read her books. And matter of fact, let me because she has several books, the Red Record, where she literally went around documenting, she naming people from like a certain time span, like I think like from like the end of Reconstruction to the year she was in. And she not only she went to those places and interviewed the people, like that's how she got the information. And she used their newspaper articles so they can be like she was lying. And she went to in the Red Record, she talked about it and she really broke it down how, like, think about it, right? When during slavery and when they was making money off their bodies and they didn't want to kill them as much because they was their property, right? They would leave them alone with the white bitches and not worry about rape. Even during insurrections, they ain't even bring up the raping the white bitch. They talk about killing everybody, but they ain't say, but that became specifically a thing, especially during the Reconstruction era, when they start seeing Black people creating towns and having industry and all of that, you know what I'm saying? But the Red Record, this one is a little bit longer, but that's what I'm saying, she went through it all and like documented every lynching that she could, you know what I'm saying? And that's why you don't even have to depend on their information. She was probably one of the best journalists to ever live, you know what I'm saying, on a period, And this is another one, Mob Rule in New Orleans. And she talking about the riot that was happening, or quote unquote riot in New Orleans. But really this brother, and she kind of documented this brother, Robert Charles, who ended up killing or shooting 20 some white people and killing like several cops because they was messing with him, because supposedly he was in a white neighborhood, you know what I'm saying, waiting on somebody. And you know what I'm saying? So this is another good one, a Mob Rule in New Orleans. I think that's probably the best one to read as far as like entertainment, but the Red Record is like the truth. Southern Horrors, you should definitely get that, you know what I'm saying, pay attention. And I'm gonna play a little bit from it, the part
all
where she talking
LibriVox
about
recordings are in the public self-help. In the creation of this healthier public sentiment, the Afro-American can do for himself what no one else can do for him. The world looks on with wonder that we have conceded so much and remain law-abiding under such great outrage and provocation. To Northern capital and Afro-American labor, the South owes its rehabilitation. If labor is withdrawn, capital will not remain. The Afro-American is thus the backbone of the South. A thorough knowledge and judicious exercise of this power in lynching localities could many times effect a bloodless revolution. The white man's dollar is his god, and to stop this will be to stop outrages in many localities. The Afro-Americans of Memphis denounced the lynching of 3 of their best citizens and urged and waited for the authorities to act in the matter and bring the lynchers to justice. No attempt was made to do so, and the Black men left the city by thousands, bringing about great stagnation in every branch of business. Those who remained so injured the business of the streetcar company by staying off the cars that the superintendent, manager, and treasurer called personally on the editor of the Free Speech, asked them to urge our people to give them their patronage again. Other businessmen became alarmed over the situation, and the Free Speech was run away that the colored people might be more easily controlled. A meeting of white citizens in June, 3 months after the lynching, passed resolutions for the first time condemning it. But they did not punish the lynchers. Every one of them was known by name because they had been selected to do the dirty work by some of the very citizens who passed these resolutions. Memphis is fast losing her Black population, who proclaim as they go that there is no protection for the life and property of any Afro-American citizen in Memphis who is not a slave. The Afro-American citizens of Kentucky, whose intellectual and financial improvement has been phenomenal, have never had a separate car law until now. Delegations and petitions poured into the legislature against it. Yet, The bill passed, and the Jim Crow car of Kentucky is a legalized institution. Will the great mass of Negroes continue to patronize the railroad? A special from Covington, Kentucky says,
Covington, June 13. The railroads of the state are beginning to feel very markedly the effects of the separate coach bill recently passed by the legislature. No class of people in the state have so many and so largely attended excursions as the blacks. All these have been abandoned, and regular travel is reduced to a minimum. A competent authority says the loss to the various roads will reach $1 million this year.
A call to a state conference in Lexington, Kentucky last June had delegates from every county in the state. Those delegates, the ministers, teachers, heads of secret and other orders, and the head of every family, should pass the word around for every member of the race in Kentucky to stay off railroads, unless obliged to ride. If they did so, and their advice was followed persistently, the convention would not need to petition the legislature to repeal the law or raise money to file a suit. The railroad corporations would be so affected, they would, in self-defense, lobby to have the separate car law repealed. On the other hand, as long as the railroads can get Afro-American excursions, they will always have plenty of money to fight all the suits brought against them. They will be aided in so doing by the same partisan public sentiment which passed the law. White men passed the law, and white judges and juries would pass upon the suits against the law and render judgment in line with their prejudices and in deference to the greater financial power. The appeal to the white man's pocket has ever been more effectual than all the appeals ever made to his conscience.
Damn.
Nothing, absolutely nothing, is to be gained by a further sacrifice.
She said appeals to the white man's pocket has done far more than appeals to his conscience.
Of manhood and self-respect. By the right exercise of his power as the industrial factor of the South, the Afro-American can demand and secure his rights, the punishment of lynchers, and a fair trial for accused rapists. Of the many inhuman outrages of this present year, the only case where the proposed lynching did not occur was where the men armed themselves in Jacksonville, Florida, and Paducah, Kentucky, and prevented it. The only times an Afro-American who was assaulted got away has been when he had a gun and used it in self-defense.
Uh-oh. Now she gonna get in trouble.
The lesson this teaches, and which every Afro-American should ponder well, is that a Winchester rifle should have a place of honor in every black home, and it should be used for that protection which the law refuses to give. When the white man who is always the aggressor knows he runs as great risk of biting the dust every time his Afro-American victim does, he will have greater respect for Afro-American life. The more the Afro-American yields and cringes and begs, the more he has to do so, the more he is insulted, outraged, and lynched. The assertion has been substantiated throughout these pages that the press contains unreliable and doctored reports of lynchings, and one of the most necessary things for the race to do is to get these facts before the public. The people must know before they can act, and there is no educator to compare with the press. The Afro-American papers are the only ones which will print the truth, and they lack means to employ agents and detectives.
Yeah, well, that part doesn't apply to today because the Afro-American ones have been infiltrated. But you hear what she's saying, like back then in 1892, you know what I'm saying? How we're going to affect them with our dollars, and how, you know, that's one way that if you want to don't even go to their stores if you're talking about them killing you. Like if a 14-year-old go to the store and like get accused of stealing a bottle of water and they get killed, we shouldn't spend our dollars there. You know what I'm saying? And the point, and then she was like, yo, the one of the times where the lynching did not occur is when the black men gathered together with their shotguns and they shot back and nothing, or no lynching happened. You feel me? Yo, and yes, Robert Charles it should be a hero that we don't even know about, because it's the same thing. He got profiled the same way that we did today, but he was like, no, I'm not bowing down to none of y'all. Y'all not taking me and none of that. You know what I'm saying? And this is just, the end of the book where she, like I said, she was breaking it down as far as like the first one to do so. Like when we have this conversation, she was probably the first only one at that time having the conversation with herself, and they didn't want to hear her. And then she came out with the Red Record, you know what I'm saying? And then the mob rule in New Orleans in 1800, you know what I'm saying? And Robert Charles is a hero, but we don't even know who he is. We don't even know who he is, And then also her autobiography, which is the one I have, The Crusade for Justice. And this is what she was writing for herself, because like I said, I guess we'll talk about that more towards the end, So yeah, man. Let me see. I think this is it here, because this is the thing that I would probably we probably debate about, and she probably cussed me out, you know what I'm saying? But like this kind of, and I'm only doing this because it's important to see that, even though I think Ida B. Wells is probably the illest one of us so far, you know what I'm saying? And it's the truth. Like, I don't agree with her about everything, and she went on speaking tours with to England, and she became friends with a lot of white bitches, you know what I'm saying? Like, not friends like that, because she still called them out and they felt some type of way too. She called out everybody, and that's what I respect, because she didn't bite her tongue, and she lost a lot of friends and connections that way. Maybe that happens, but she felt like, maybe I could have been nicer and developed them, but I'm like, no. But see, this is my problem here, because I probably would have said something like, why are you going to England to tour and talk about this? Because they don't give a damn. It's the home of what goes on. But to be fair, this is the 1890s, maybe, but even then, this is the 1890s. It's like me saying it's 2023. Like, I can give them a pass, and maybe even the early 1700s, but after that, I can't, And she became cool with the, white bitches and all of that, and we would debate about that, I think, but but that's the thing. She was like, they like to call her a feminist, but she was like, no, I'm a race woman, you know what I'm saying? I'm about my people. And she started it by protecting black men and defending black men, which is all of her work shows, and she was the first one calling out white bitches, the first one. Like, they're using this as an excuse, but really they're trying to use this to attack them, and that's just the excuse. And then white bitches go along with it, and she called them out all the time, But as far as working with other black people, this is what black people was doing back then. This is what black women was doing.
Force our country to live up to its ideals. From
Not
the
to play
top,
this guy,
Span
but
captured the
I had to. This was the only one that's like short enough.
communal spirit of the women's club movement, lifting as we
But one of
negative journalism
we're experiencing, but one of the most important issues that they worked on was anti-lynching.
In the 1890s, the pioneering investigative journalist Ida B. Wells lectured widely through the British Isles, shining a light on the horrifying injustices that Black Americans were suffering under Jim Crow.
There were prominent men who opposed what she did. A woman talking so frankly, they thought it was unfeminine.
And by the way, anybody talking like she talked, because nobody talked like she talked. But even today, like, I'd still see brothers coming at sisters who actually have projects for, like, they say we should do, and the sisters is the ones doing it, that come up with the solutions, that showed me certain solutions, and like it's just interesting. But like a lot of brothers didn't like her, you know what I'm saying? A lot of black people didn't like her though, because she had got into it with other black women too, but she also worked with them, you know what I'm saying? But she was talking about fighting back, you know what I'm saying? She was like, we will shoot back before we will shoot back. She was talking about how white bitches is dangerous. And brothers we definitely ain't gonna co-sign a black woman talking bad about a white bitch now, But she was not liked for a lot of these reasons, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, like, she documented Robert Charles' incident. She went down there and did her investigatory work. She realized that Well, if there was a reason given at all, you know what I'm saying? They like one of them was like a black dude got drunk and was acting sassy towards, and that's how it was reported. He was acting sassy towards whites, and he got lynched. Right? Some of them don't have any crimes charged at all. Most of them was because they was allegedly raping white bitches. You know what I'm saying? The most dangerous species. And a lot of times, his brothers still getting caught up with white bitches. Like they get caught in a room with a white bitch, and sometimes they try to lie like, oh, well, he was selling me curtains and stuff, or selling encyclopedias. But, and you know, you already know what it was, but a lot of times brothers didn't get that. And then on top of that, white bitches could use that. They would have an affair with somebody or get caught and be like, well, no, this N-word raped me. Or they just do it for fun, you know. But they did it for all, like, talking back, you know what I'm saying? Like, she documented all of the reasons why people got, like, lynched. And she went to the places and talked to the family and got the reports that she could get, you know, and all of that. She really traveled and did this, you know. And that's why I can't even, like, hold the torch to her, you know. She was the truth.
So frankly, they thought it was unfeminine. They thought it was problematic. And so when she was getting flack from men, it was the women's clubs that did support her.
In 1895, club women were further spurred into action when Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin received word from the secretary of the London Anti-Lynching Committee. She had received a letter from a white male journalist containing a scathing attack on the virtues of black women. In response to Ruffin's call to action,
it was the newspapers, was the YouTube back then. It was just newspapers. You had to wait for it to get printed.
black women held a national conference in Boston. The following year, the National Association of Colored Women was founded with a new objective: defending the honor and the dignity of black womanhood.
There's a lot of emphasis.
Now, I want you to understand, a lot of the organizations, like Ida B. Wells was a part of the founding of, but then when she started realizing like a lot of them was suspects, she called them out and got kicked out of most of them because she didn't bite her tongue, just like with the preachers. She called them out, and she was like, I get to it, you know.
On ideals of womanhood that are really a response to the general degradation that black women experienced since slavery, and the depiction of black women as lascivious and licentious. So you see lots of women who are activists sharing a notion of black womanhood that is respectable, that is decent, that is self-respecting.
By 1920, Black women in the club movement focused on almost every area that touched.
Look what they helped other people do, though. Black women were for other black women alone, black men for other black men alone. But look at what this particular group was like, or some of the groups she was involved in did. You know?
On people's lives, from housing to voting to discrimination, and leaders such as Mary Church Terrell, Fannie Berry Williams, and Mary McLeod Bethune became very active in the political.
Yeah, she was cool with Mary McLeod Bethune, she was like Martin Luther King back then. Like they would use Mary McLeod Bethune, and then of course, you know, she established her school in Florida. But she was cool with her. Madam C.J. Walker, you know, they was in different lanes. But Madam C.J. Walker used to fund Ida B. Wells, you know, and pay for a lot of her stuff. Because I missed the part where she got married, and then, you know, she got married in her 30s. But the brother was like, you know, he was a lawyer. And so he used to do cases like pro bono, like to help black people, like for like discrimination, like not just regular discrimination, but like, you know, violent ones, you know, and they used to help people for free. And it was people like them who like, you know, they would support them for what they're doing. And of course, he was a lawyer. So, you know, they still work, but they did a lot of stuff for free. You know what I'm saying?
Fighting for social justice and civil rights.
So many of the women that you find in the late 19th and early 20th century who really emerge as leaders in the black community are coming together in order to think about how to move forward, setting the tone for what will be institutional life for black people for the coming century.
Right. And I want to play this. I'm only going to play a little part because I want you to see some of their things, and there's something interesting that here because she like knew a lot of people, and I want to say this, you know, in case anybody disagrees, but
And the reason why I want to bring up Ida B. Wells here at this point is because, and we'll be mindful of my time, is because
I'm being mindful, y'all.
Ida was such a force. Ida, not only was she a journalist, but when Ida was in her early 20s, or she was 20 actually, she was a teacher. Basically, he physically removed her off the train. Very ruthless in her journalism. She did investigative journalism. And lynching back in the day was considered justified because different presidents throughout the years.
I'm trying to get to the part. My bad, I should have had it, but the part that what they was talking about during their meetings, you know, and y'all tell me if this is like today or not. But it's also interesting who was there because you know, and Mary Church Terrell, and then she ended up getting into it with her too, you know, because she called her out
In 1895 that she called, but later on to their communities. But here's what they wanted to do. And here are the things that they did. They wanted to address corrections institutions. They wanted moral education for African American girls, housing conditions and home purity. They basically wanted to teach them how to be better housewives and mothers. Local reading and debating clubs, anti-lynching, of course, the education segregation in Florida. And also, I would like to point out,
like Ron DeSantis in Florida. What?
Clubs, anti-lynching, of course, the education segregation in Florida. And also, I would like to point out Harriet Tubman wanted to address the use of Afro-American versus colored.
And see, that's very interesting. It says there where she's getting the minutes from that Harriet Tubman specifically wanted to address the difference between African American and colored. I don't know what she wanted to say about it, but you know, Harriet Tubman was a part of the meeting. You know what I'm saying? That, and this is for the people who be like, you know,
Clubs, anti-lynching, of course, the education segregation in Florida. And to the north, at this time, the Great Migration was happening, where Black people were moving from the South up, and women's suffrage and the right to vote, National Prohibition Amendment, things of that nature. Of course, anti-lynching is up there again.
Yeah, still anti-lynching.
Okay. So what were,
and these are some of the things they did.
Some of the things that the National Association of Colored Women do. Okay. And also let me let you know that they're still around. What did they do and what have they done? What do they continue to do? They built schools. They had a particular interest in kindergarten. It was very important, if nothing else, that the kids had a kindergarten to go to.
Especially a kindergarten. And that's they knew that in the 1800s.
As a matter of fact, Miss Ruffin, and Miss Ruffin was so smart that she would sell her speeches, and she used the money from the speeches that she sold in order to build and create these kindergartens across the country. They also ran orphanages, created scholarships for women to go to college, summer camps, job training, health services. There was an emphasis on mental health as well, which I thought.
And that's still all the things that y'all say we need to do today. That's what like they was doing.
Was interesting. Child rearing classes, gardening classes, social spaces for Black women. And this is significant. They raised more than $5 million in war bonds during World War I. And that's a lot of money. So they gave a lot. And as a result, they were able to get an influential position.
All right. And I just wanted to play some of the stuff they did. Like I said, like one of the interesting things there was like, so like Ida B. Wells was supposedly cool with Harriet Tubman, right? And so Harriet Tubman was supposed to have held her infant son because, like I said, she was a Black woman having a kid in her 30s, and this was in the 1800s where it was like crazy, you know what I'm saying, for that to be. And then it lines up because in 1896 she had an infant, and her infant was held by Harriet Tubman. It was like, so Sojourner Truth died in 1883, right? Tubman lived another 30 years, you know. So in 1896, she attended the inaugural meeting of the National Association of Colored Women in Washington, D.C., and inspired the founders of what was to become the nation's most important Black women's organization. So Tubman was the embodiment of Black women's capacity to struggle, says that author, But so when she came to the front of the assembly, the audience rose as one person and greeted her with waving of handkerchiefs and clapping. So this is coming from like witnesses and people that's there. Yo, what's going on, Shanique? So during the session, Harriet Tubman, the oldest member of the convention, was asked to introduce the baby of the association, which was the infant son of Ida B. Wells. Many who witnessed the meeting of the aging heroine of the anti-slavery wars and the youthful anti-lynching crusader perceived it as a moment in which the torch passed from one strong bearer to another. So, that's what a lot of people that was there, And so, yeah, Mary Church Terrell was the first president. And, of course, Ida B. Wells plays a key part. But it was a lot of people in there. And, so, yeah, I thought that was interesting that, Harriet Tubman, they was like held her baby. And that was like a passing of the torch from Harriet Tubman to Ida B. Wells, So anyway, so she created that. And okay, so in 1897, it says she established the first Black kindergarten in Chicago for Black children, right? So she did this in 1897, stuff that we say we need to do today, you know what I'm saying? And of course, in 1908, she was had one of the first Black houses and established her own thing. Now, all right, so she co-founded the NAACP, right? But she was excluded from the list of co-founders by W.E. Du Bois, you know what I'm saying? So, and the thing is, right, so in 1912, she was calling out the NAACP, calling them out for the same stuff that we say today about the NAACP. She said that in 1912, and it was made in 1909. And she was like, though she considered a co-founder, she cut ties with the organization because she felt that in its infancy, it lacked action-based initiatives, you know what I'm saying? And pretty much like, why is these damn shysters at the beginning? And y'all not really trying to be about that life. Yo, what's going on, Miss Vita? And so in 1913, she founded her own thing in the Alpha Suffrage Club in Chicago. So she found her own, but she was the very first person to call out the NAACP. And people were scared to say that even in 1930s, but in 1912, she was calling them out because she understood what they were about. And she knew that they were the organization that we see today, and she was like, yo, what's the deal with this? What's going on? Yo, she was the truth, So, like, that's what I'm saying. A lot of the stuff that we talk about today, she was really the first one to say, and she was having a conversation by herself because we didn't even understand it at that time. She was really having these conversations. Nobody was calling out white bitches. Nobody was calling out the NAACP. You know what I'm saying? Nobody was calling out the Black Boule, right? Because not the Boule, but the bourgeoisie, because they tried to put her in that elite class. But this is why she kept getting kicked out, because she was like, yo, y'all fake, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all is, and she kind of got into it with W.E. Du Bois. And it's my belief is because she was calling out the NAACP and calling out those shysters, you know what I'm saying? And W.E. Du Bois didn't like it. And also, she was Ida B. Wells, so he knew she was the truth. Right. And then he was on that Talented Tim stuff. But she was like, no, we about the people. Like y'all consider me like this 10%. But like, I'm standing up for the people out here getting lynched. Like, we don't have no protection. She was like, yo, I'm a race woman. Like, not this feminist stuff, not all of this other stuff that they try to make her out as today. And people know W.E. Du Bois a lot more. And they worked together. He first respected that she was so, but she was too much for him when she's talking about a shotgun should be in the home. He was like, yo, you are pissing white people off. White people are scared of you, so we can't do that. And she got into it with him about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just the truth, you know. That's just what happened, you know. So like and she also always used to go in on Booker T. Washington, you know what I'm saying? Because I know some of y'all might get the Booker T. Washington Award today. Ms. Vita said, it's fascinating. We as Blacks are so resilient, and every inch of our existence has been bought in blood and fear. And no matter how much we advance, we are met with white backlash. Yeah. But yeah, so she was like on Booker T. Washington for saying like, and I know some of y'all give Booker T. Washington a pass, but she didn't, because why are you talking about, you know, don't say nothing about lynching? And she called him out all the time, you know. But anyway, it says, but she was skeptical of NAACP's white leadership and moderate stance, because they was doing that stuff back then. People ain't catch on until like World War I, really, you know what I'm saying? Maybe World War II. And they was like, no, we ain't caping for the NAACP no more. Y'all trying to please white people. But she knew that in 1912, she became inactive because she like questioning their leadership, you know what I'm saying? Like what their goal is. And so she just made her own stuff, you know what I'm saying? So she is the first one to call out the NAACP too, you know. And this is what she was talking about, Booker T. Washington. I ain't gotta read this. Y'all can look it up. Booker T. Washington, just look up her criticize. She talking about him and his people, you know what I'm saying? And she like, man, you know, like what are you saying this head down nonsense for, you know? Like, no, we're not gonna stand and not do nothing when we get lynched. Like, protect yourself. The only time we don't get lynched is when we shoot back. And you sitting here and say don't do nothing to piss off white people. So she was on his neck about that, you know what I'm saying? Okay, yo, and so yeah, so she was cool with Marcus Garvey too, right? So now that's important. That it was like, so Ida B. Wells was a race woman, and she made sure to make that known that she was about Black people. She said, I will not separate myself from my sons, my husband. Like she was like about that life. She stood up for her friend who was a man. She know he wasn't tripping and went at white bitches. And she always said, yo, call me race first. And they still call her a feminist to this day. But she said she herself that she was a race woman. I'm Black first only. She pretty much said I'm Black only. You know what I'm saying? But she didn't say, she said she's Black first. Right. And I'm just trying to say Ida B. Wells be Black only. You know what I'm saying? But she would cuss me out for saying that. So she was uncompromisingly committed to the freedom and well-being of Black people. Like Marcus Garvey, whom she admired and who admired her, she was race first, right? And she worked with the UNIA for a little bit at its founding. She was a part of most of the foundings of like organizations, and then like, and I'm not saying this about Marcus Garvey thing, but like with the NAACP, is a lot of it she left, but she always was down with Marcus Garvey and supported what he was doing. So she worked with him too. But she argued there was no substitute for unity, self-help, self-reliance, and you know, it's this constant struggle. And she stressed strong community institutions and that education was essential and as far in economic strength. So so it said she criticized Black people for being too tied to one party without critical assessment. Like she would be going in on people voting Democrat right now, saying like, yo, we still voting for one party. We used to do that then, but they called them Republicans, but they switched sides, right? And so she criticized them but not without having critical assessment. And she probably was the first one to do that too, right? And said Malcolm X came later with a similar position, and she declared she was neither Democrat nor Republican, but an African American seeking justice and freedom for her people. And she argued against uncritical alliances to leaders for critical assessments to our leadership in our communities. You know what I'm saying? That's Black people as well, right? And she was for the well-being of Black people as a race, morally, socially, and intellectually. Right. So it goes on and on, but I just wanted you to understand that she was cool, not only cool with Marcus Garvey, you know what I'm saying, and she realized that she was Black first. I would just say, yo, Ida B. Wells, like, we're Black only, you know what I'm saying? She'd be like, no, Black first, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, I just have like another 120 years of experience that we've been here. Yo, I appreciate it, Ms. Vita. He said, if our history has taught us anything, as long as we reside in America, we can never be passive, never rest. We must always be on guard, always prepared to fight. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. They was always prepared to fight. You know what I'm saying? Let me play this part.
She was called by other Black journalists the princess of the press.
Some Black leaders had a problem with her militancy because they felt she was rocking.
Now that's what I'm just like they gonna consider her racist for saying what she say, or call me racist for saying what I say. Like, it's funny at this point, you know what I'm saying? It don't faze me, and this is why they said the same thing to her.
The boat.
She was probably the most uncompromising Black leader. She never backed down from anything.
This was what opened my eyes to what lynching really was. An excuse to get rid of Negroes who were acquiring wealth and property, and thus keep the race terrorized.
Dilemma.
It was at a meeting, if I remember correctly, and every time Susan B. Anthony, and they'd had they'd known each other.
Right, so she was kind of cool with that, you know, the white feminist, and they tried to play her all the time. I guess I should have showed that part first, right? So they like she integrated the suffrage march. Now, see, I might would have like got into it with her about this, like, yo, what are you doing? Like, these white bitches is not our friends. You called them out, Ida B. Wells. You know that these white bitches be tripping. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this, I'm only saying this so that we can understand that, you know, like, I would pick her to be my hero, but like, it's okay to disagree with something. You don't have to follow everything that everybody says. And I've never met a person in life that I agree with everything that they say, right? And she probably would have a healthy conversation with me about it, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, I have a lot more years, so maybe I would have been tripping in 1896 or 1913, but I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't have been, because I would have seen how white bitches was, because it has been like 300 years at that point, you know? But it is what it is, you know? So let me get back to her and the white bitches, because this is the one thing I would like, not the one thing, but I'm like, yo, Ida B. Wells, like, forget them, and they integrate and they march and all that. But she called them out, was like, yo, no, we not. And they tried to get Frederick Douglass to stand down. She cussed them out for that. She cussed them out all the time. She called them out on their nonsense. And she, like she said, I'm race first, not woman first, not none of that. You know what I'm saying? I'm Black first, you know what I'm saying? I would say Black only, but she said I'm Black first, you know? And this is just my only thing I would say. And I had to say that so that we can understand that it's okay, you know?
And they were certainly on a first name basis. But at this particular meeting, Susan B. Anthony would always say, Mrs. Barnett.
I noticed the way she would bite out my married name in addressing me. Finally, I said to her, Miss Anthony, don't you believe in women getting married?
Now, mind you, she got married to this brother, Ferdinand Barnett, who was an activist in his own right and did his own thing. Like I said, was a lawyer who did cases for other people. And he used to encourage her. He gave her his newspaper that he had started. And he like did everything he could. He did the legal aspect so she could go do her, you know what I'm saying? And he was more of a laid, chill back kind of brother. Like, that's the kind of way I would like to be. But like, Ida B. Wells is the truth. That's the hero, you know? But he did a lot of the behind the scenes work, you know what I'm saying? So that like the legal work and whatever she had to do so that she could go out there and be in the situations that she in, you know? And when she got married to him, and they had an understanding, they had a family, a beautiful family, you know what I'm saying? And she felt and then the white bitch started letting the white bitch tendencies come out and feeling some type of way because this sister is married, right? She like, yo, and she's not compromising anything, you know, for anybody, you know what I'm saying? But that white bitch still felt some type of way.
I said to her, Miss Anthony, don't you believe in women getting married? She said, oh, yes, but not women like you who had a special call for special work. I too might have married, but it would have meant dropping the work to which I had set my hand. She said, I know of no one in all this country better fitted to do the work you had in hand than yourself. But since you've gotten married, agitation seems practically to have ceased. You have divided duty. Your 11-month-old baby needs you at home, and that makes for divided duty.
Wells' activism was limited not so much by her growing family as by increasing opposition from conservative Black leaders who were wary of her uncompromising attitude and widespread influence. At the turn of the century, there were two opposing forces in African American politics. The radicals, led by W.E.B. Du Bois, William Monroe Trotter, and Ida B.
All right, so yeah, I'll stop it there. As we said, yeah, and other books as reminders entitled "Without Sanctuary: Lynching Photography in America." Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, so that's several things that she did, you know what I'm saying? So like that's just one aspect of it. But then later in her life, you know what I'm saying, she ended up running for office, and it's probably things that I miss. So I apologize because I wanted to say everything, but it's probably things that I missed. But so later on in her life, she ran as an independent, and the first Black woman in the nation to run for public office. So she was the first Black woman to run for public office in America. All right, and but she lost or whatever, and so she ran as an independent, and of course nobody was supporting her because she was too wild and stuff like that. Now, this is the thing, right? So she ran for office in like 1930, maybe the end of like the year 1930. She lost or whatever, but the next year in 1931, right? And I don't have it, right? So she passed away. And I don't like talking about her death and nothing like that because of her life was so great. But like, I did want to mention, I don't have it. I was listening to one of the people who had a biography on her, and they was doing an interview, and it was like a lot of people in her family thought that she was poisoned. Like they finally caught her because she was just running for office the year earlier, like just a few months earlier. And then a few months later, she got sick really, really quick. And they said like it was like kidney disease or something like that. But it just happened all too quick. And some people, I guess it's a conspiracy theory, but they believe that she had got poisoned because they didn't want her to get into a political office. But that's what she was trying to do towards the later part of her life, And like I said, I would probably disagree with her about the integration stuff, but she didn't know, or the first class citizenship of being an American, or like the white bitches, you know what I'm saying? But if I can not only have like a 1 ounce of the courage that she have, you know what I'm saying, I would be a whole lot better person, And just because I disagree with somebody doesn't mean, because she's the hero. She's like, to me, probably the greatest Black leader. And I would pick her out of anybody. Like I said, Bakari ran from the Marcus Garvey versus Ida B. Wells, but it's not a competition. It's just to talk about what people have done. And if you got a hero, you can come on and we can set something up like Ida B. Wells versus whoever your hero is, so we can know who they are and the things they've accomplished, especially if you think that their accomplishment haven't been talked about, But she was the first to do a whole lot of things, even down to the last thing that she did was the first Black woman to run for a political office in 1930, right? And of course, she, finished and was not close to winning, But so the last video, I just play this because he said a lot of key things, and I guess I don't want to play him, but he was on point. He said certain things that was correct. She did, like, there's no question about it. nobody like Frederick Douglass wrote to her like, yeah, well, you the first one that did it, and she liked Frederick Douglass. Frederick Douglass reached out to her like, yo, I spoke about it, but I can't hold the torch to you. But Frederick Douglass was Frederick Douglass, and like I said, she was race first only. I would say only, but I think that she would be on my side too with the information that she has today. I think she would be on my side, and she know these white bitches would be tripping. She the first one that said it. She broke it down. I learned it from her. By herself. By the way, that's not all her books. She talked about lynch law and some. She talked about the Arkansas race riot of 1906. She has several books and she had several writings, and she used to write under the name Iola before she started doing all of that stuff. When I was talking about, she was talking about the black men who was preachers doing dirty in the church, exposing that. And that's been the thing that she always felt like when she died. One thing she said was like, a couple of things that she said that got to her was that when she got older, people wasn't listening to her. Like, she heard the younger generation. She went to something for like Carter G. Woodson, and they brought up her name, and the person was like, oh, I heard about her, but I don't know who she is. And she felt like people wasn't getting it, and they was probably trying to be down with the beginning of this integration and nonviolent movement nonsense. You know what I'm saying? And with the NAACP, they wasn't listening to her. So she felt like, I have wasted my time. And I disagree with that, because I don't think that she did, but she did was like, people forget about me. People aren't going to talk about me. And she did get lost a lot in history, even though she's probably the most gangster one out of everybody, and probably did things first the most things first out of anybody. You know what I'm saying? And was not afraid to bite her tongue. Other than Khalid Muhammad, who I didn't see apologize, I don't know anybody else who was as unapologetic as her, right? As far as being black, except for the one thing I mentioned. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah, I definitely want to, for us to understand that. See, yeah, that's exactly right, Shanique. She's not spoken about because she didn't bite her tongue. That's what she was saying. Like, and on her, like, she was like in her autobiography, like, maybe I should have bit my tongue a lot more and played politics and a lot more. But like, I feel like I have a similar problem. Like, that's how I can. That's one of the things I relate to her about. Like, maybe I bite my tongue way more than she does. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I say things that make people mad. It's hard to, like, bite my tongue. You want to call out the organizations, like when they was talking about her and W.E. Du Bois, they tried to put her in the Black Elite, but she was like, yo, the Black Elite, we acting like some coons. Like, yo, you see what the Black Elite is doing? You know what I'm saying? I think I missed that, but she was calling out them too, and she was like, they're keeping us enslaved. Like, they're acting like some B words, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, she regretted a few things, but I don't think that's anything to regret. Like, she was like, I wish I could have been more cool with people and not so harsh. I wish I would have bit my tongue a lot more. And also, like, that people didn't follow or listen to her. And I disagree, because there are people who have been I'm influenced by her, and I wish I could do 1/4 of what oh yeah, that's what I was missing. Damn, the FBI thing. Because she also was first followed by the FBI. Damn, I missed it. I could just tell you, and if you want me to pull it up, I'll pull it up because it did say something that I wanted to say. But out of everybody, they was like she was the most dangerous, right? She was being followed, she was being tapped. They tried to intimidate her. She was like, "Yo, it is what it is. I'm gonna do what I do," and they couldn't really do anything, but they tried their best to do all of the things that they did to everybody else before, even before Marcus Garvey. They said she was the most dangerous one, right? Not W.E. Du Bois, not any of them, because she was uncompromising and she didn't bite her tongue. And the FBI has files on her a mile long. And of course, they write her out of history. Like, they got people be like, think Ida B. Wells, just like, yo, the Ida B. Wells projects or something. And I didn't see nobody saying shouts out to Ida B. Wells, even Khalid Muhammad. And I think Khalid Muhammad is like one of the second unapologetic, But and I wouldn't even, and I couldn't even give him certain things, but but at the end of the day, like, we don't even talk about her, and that's because she pissed off a lot of people. Like, a lot of people liked her, but she could not develop relationships with certain people, and she fell out with a lot of people. She was just too extreme for everybody. She was dead serious, and even though she tried, like, that's why I don't want to make it seem like she was like down for white bitches or nothing. That's why I'm like, she was race first, but she was just too extreme. Nobody was calling out white bitches. Nobody was saying like, yo, if they take you out, well, they was, but they wasn't mainstream. Just like we don't know about Robert F. Williams. We don't know about Ida B. Wells. We know about the nonviolent stuff. That's what I'm saying. That's what her family was saying, that she got sick awfully quick. How you just running for office, and then a couple of months later, you just got you just break down within a matter of weeks and die and have kidney failure. They believe somebody was poisoning her, and they finally caught her because they've been trying to lynch her since she was 21 years old. But she was always on the move, not caring. And she said, if like, why would I go out not like a rat in a trap or something like that in Southern Harlem? I would rather go out and take one of them with me. If you're gonna go out, take one of them with you. You know what I'm saying? And she was telling you the only time people ain't get lynched is when they showed up with their guns, right? Anytime that you think that you can abide by their law, you got burnt every time. She first one saying this. The MGTOW, or the Black MGTOW from 18 from what 1920 or 1912. You know what I'm saying? They would have called her a spinster. And see, that's why I respect MG2. She did like MG2 used to did the other day. She used to do that all the time. Like, yo, y'all always talking, saying the same stuff. What are we gonna do? And like, yo, these white fools is crazy. If we gotta arm ourselves and defend ourselves, it is what it is. They're like, oh Lord, Ida B. Wells. We wants to be liked by those white folk. You know what I'm saying? And I'm only saying what I said because I have another 150 years of experience based off what they've done. But she probably would agree with me by now, so I'm not gonna keep explaining that. It ain't about Du Bois, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, Miss Rita, I couldn't even say that it wouldn't be true. But I would like to think it was like, not like to think because I wish it didn't happen, but I would say the KKK just because I have faith, you know, it's my belief, it's my religion. Um, yeah, that will always be Judas's. And it said the current climate proved her right. She was right then. She was right then, and they knew it. That's why they made her uncomfortable, and they didn't like her because she didn't bite her tongue. Like just like the preachers, like they was like, "Yo, shut your mouth, or we're gonna tell the congregation that you start trouble." She got kicked out of school because she complained about how, like, she complained about racism at school. She got fired from her teaching job because she talked about how the black schools were underfunded and they taking their tax dollars. Right? She got kicked out of the NAACP for questioning their leadership and not being serious about what she was talking about. You know what I'm saying? She got kicked out of all of these things because, you know, they chased her out of town because she realized what the lynch law was about, that they only use white bitches as an excuse and that white bitches be lying, and it's economic warfare. They ran her out of town. Everything that she said was the truth. That's what made her the problem. See, I probably wouldn't agree with Ida B. Wells on that point, though. You know, and that's why I had to play it. So, and this is the thing here. Well, watch what he said here, though. You see that all the rest of them said suffragists, suffragists. She said race, woman. I'm black on. Well, I'm saying black only for you, Ida B. Wells. We're gonna update the information because it's 2023, of course. No, Bakari, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. That nothing has, not even their talking points. Is they're not even creative. That's what's killing me. They're not even creative. It's the same thing over and over and over. But it's important for our children. The only way you're not going to have the same conversation over and over is to understand that we've had the conversation in the first place. It's like me saying, "Oh yeah, like, yo, well, this thing where somebody stops me for like because they said I was black or something, and then somebody, oh well, that's called racism." I didn't know that it was called racism, so now I'm sitting here like, you know, gotta say all of these the same things that it's been said so much that it has a name to it. That's the problem. We don't educate, and that's was one of the things that they used to do, create educational systems. You know what I'm saying? Like, and she taught, and like she said, I try to teach so that anybody can understand, even a baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was before Elijah Muhammad said it. All right, so she said that first too. All right, so anything that you think your person has done, she did it first. She was the target to the FBI before Marcus Garvey was. Right? She was, you know what I'm saying, talking about everything that people, she was saying the stuff that Malcolm X said before he was born. Right? She, you know, was Rosa Parks before she was born. Right? And she bit the person. Rosa Parks wasn't gonna bite nobody. They was gonna be nonviolent. She was talking about we will shoot back before Robert F. Williams was born. she realized that white bitches was a problem before I was born, right? Because it took till me to realize that white bitches is the problem because y'all love them so much. But anyway, I'm sorry. Do you see that? And that's the truth. And you see the first thing they call her is a feminist. How when she was her claim to fame was calling well not claim to fame, but the thing when she that clicked with her was the lynch law, and she understood how they use white bitches, and she called out white women all the time, and she stood up for black men. She stood up for her friend Thomas Moss, who is a black man who had groceries, his own grocery store, and she realized it was economic warfare and how they use white women. She was the first one doing it, but she was a feminist. She was black people. She was for black people. You know what I'm saying? If not only, it was definitely first. You know what I'm saying? She might have been the first one to say black first. You know. See, and Ida B was trying to say that, but I would have said, yo, I might would have cheated and used that in a debate against her because I would have had to use my best. You know what I'm saying? Yo, thanks, Oni. I appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I probably would have used that in debate because you see, like Ida B it ain't gonna help if you mess with the white bitches. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. You know, and she probably gonna get me right now. So one of y'all probably come out here and cuss me out through her energy. Oh man. I stopped sharing it. I don't even think I had the last thing. I hope I wasn't not showing it for a long time. Because I wasn't showing it. My bad. I don't know. I don't know if I wasn't not showing it for a long time.
Delegation, which is all white women, and said, "How y'all doing? I'm in Chicago. I'm with y'all," and they looking like, "What?" I said, "Hold on, we gonna be for rights or not? Because what we not gonna do is play this race game." And they get that 19th Amendment passed, but still, it takes black women until this is what Ida B. Wells and them trying to tell us. It took black women.
Damn, y'all missed a lot of stuff. I think I wasn't showing this stuff for a long time. My bad. But yeah, yeah, okay. So
until
it is what it
the
is.
same time it took black men. The Voting Rights Act, 1965.
Yeah, my bad. I think I messed that joint up. I'm not sure if y'all saw the last video. If y'all saw this, then just put it in the chat and then let me know y'all saw it and I can skip it. Y'all can't hear this? All right, my bad. My bad. I don't know how much I was not showing. So my bad. I'm not even gonna go back though, because I spent way too long on this jump.
Important figures anybody could study. So I'm glad to hear that you went down that rabbit hole, Karen, because you know that's your grandmother. So I'm glad you
Listen,
got to know her.
I felt vindicated, you know.
All right, is it sound now?
In this time, if you didn't, I am too apologetic.
She was constantly pushing and being pushed back against. In fact, one of the interesting things during World War I, you know, they fighting to get this 19th Amendment passed. And so Ida Wells is involved in the front ranks of that struggle, but the racism in the women's movement.
They wanted her not to be in the parade.
They didn't want to be right. Exactly. And so you see her, and you see, again, another one of those sisters that did not give up her name. Like you talking about Robert Church. Here comes Mary Church Terrell, family out of Memphis. She's in D.C. They're in this thing. Mary Church Terrell is like, you know, we're going to have this women's club movement. I'm with these black women. We're going to be in the march. Ida Wells is like, yeah, I'm with.
And that's why I was saying, like, this is the part I would have probably used against Ida B. Wells, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, I don't know why she was, like, trying to be down. Like, she wasn't trying to be down with the white bitches, but use it against them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I would still just I would disagree with this tactic.
With y'all, but watch this. We ain't going to be segregated. I'm going to march with the Illinois delegation. So these white women are like, no, you black people have to march together. So the black power kind of philosophy is, yeah, we'll stay together and we're going to be together. Ida Wells has said, yeah, I'm black power too, but I'm a race woman. You see for example, you see the pictures, they will say suffragist, and then you see Ida B. Wells and it says race woman. She said,
right. So all the other sisters was like, yo, suffragist, but Ida B. Wells was like race woman, you know what I'm saying? On some black first stuff, you know.
Yeah. What y'all not gonna do?
Yo, what up, Coco, by the way?
Is separate me from my sons, from my husband, from my nephews. Right. I am for women and men. I'm for us. And don't get me wrong, I tighten the brothers up all the time. I stay tightening them up. But what I'm not gonna do is pick you over them. It's a philosophy that is so important. She leaves the black part, goes up through the march to the Illinois delegation, which is all white women, and said, how y'all doing? I'm in Chicago, I'm with y'all. And they looking like, what? He said, hold on, we gonna be for rights or not? Because what we're not gonna do is play this race game. And they get that 19th Amendment passed, but still, it takes black women until, this is what Ida B. Wells and them trying to tell us, it took black women until the same time it took black men. The Voting Rights Act, 1965. Because even though the 19th Amendment says women can vote, if you're a black woman in the South, what you gonna walk in and say, okay, I'm a woman, but you black. Well, yeah, but I'm a woman. It says I can vote. No. Jim Crow Rosa Parks, Jim Crow Septima Clark. Right. So Ida Wells, the story of her fearlessness, as you said, comes with often being pushed back against by black men, by those who would say you're too outspoken. And you know, there were many battles. She ran for office in Chicago. She was often pushed back against by the black elites. And her response was, you know, you all are a little too stuffy and y'all moving a little too slow. So to the point you're raising, she was fearless. She had that courage, and she was a human being who hurt, who cried, who got mad, and ultimately who was just as human as we are. So don't think.
Yeah, you know what's funny, right? Because like her granddaughter or great granddaughter was like saying one of the funniest things one of the like other things that she said, like when she didn't like somebody, she was like she called somebody like a bird face, like, yo, this bird face dude said this to me, you know what I'm saying? Like she was like, yo, I thought that was kind of funny. So like, yo, she was definitely human, and she had human emotions, and she doubted herself just like the rest of us do. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing, she was open and honest about it, or she at least wrote about it, and it's out there. You know what I'm saying? She questioned how her attitude was, but she just ain't play no games or take no for an answer. You know, and she didn't bite her tongue for anybody, and she questioned if that hurt her or not. And it may or may not have kept her out of history. From what I can do, I'm not going to let that happen. So
she had that courage, and she was a human being who hurt, who cried, who got mad, and ultimately who was just as human as we are. So don't think of these people as superheroes who only were one way. They were exactly like us, and we're exactly like them.
So, Dr.
Right. Right. So, and so I want to say definitely shouts out to Ida B. Wells. And I didn't think that this would take this long. I thought I was going to be a lot quicker than this, but I don't mind because, I would say that Ida B. Wells is a hero, you know what I'm saying? Now, I do have some other stuff that I did want to show, right? And y'all, I understand if y'all don't want to, but I was speaking of history and not just Ida B. Wells, but even what I'm working on, I was just watching some stuff about the LA riots, the Watts riots, but of 1965, because Ida B. Wells was saying this in the 1890s, but they was also saying this in 1965. And, I wanted to show just a couple things from it. And I don't know how long this is going to be. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't think this would be this long, but it is what it is. So my bad.
Get the white man! Get the white man! It was the most widespread, most destructive racial violence in American history. White people driving through the riot area were considered fair game, whether young or old, men or women. Their cars were battered, the drivers stoned, kicked, and beaten, and the cars were burned. The mobs might groan and curse in disappointment when a white got away, and then cheer like a football crowd when a car went up in flames. The burning and looting, the shooting and beating went on for nearly a week. It began, as many race riots have begun, with the arrest of a Negro by white officers, right here at this corner. In this case, 2 young Negroes were stopped by California highway patrolmen and charged with drunk driving. There was a scuffle and a crowd gathered. The mother of the 2, they are brothers, joined in, and she and another woman the crowd thought was pregnant were pushed and shoved. Over and over, Negroes repeat the charge of police brutality. One who had pressed a number of brutality complaints and one of the most successful attorneys in Los Angeles is a Negro.
So, and it started because of a traffic stop. And, so the police started doing police stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I just wanted
This
to
is
show.
where it began. This is with a few young Negroes walked through the community and almost beaten to death. It began with police and rioters clashing on a hot Wednesday night. Some believe it could have been stopped.
So when they did this, the crowd started coming out there, right? And black people was patrolling their areas, you know what I'm saying? They went out there, they was just doing, and then they saw this going on. So people started coming and more people started coming. So then when the police, started beating up, apparently the kid was in handcuffs, or the child was in handcuffs. And I don't know how old he was, but he was driving his mom's car. He was a teenager and they arrested him. And so he was talking to the police, but they started hitting him with a baton. But for him to be arrested, he had to be in handcuffs. And so his mom intervened and they started kind of beating her too. And they did this in front of a crowd of people. So then that crowd of people started getting mad, you know what I'm saying? And then they started throwing rocks and bricks and bottles and stuff. It wasn't just one person. It was like a crowd of people, And so they started throwing rocks and bricks and bottles at the police.
Right then, if law officers moved in force and sealed off the area. Perhaps so, perhaps not. But within a matter of hours, it was completely out of hand. More than 1,500 people were in the streets, many hurling rocks and bottles at the police or anyone else, some attacking the cars of people, white or Negro, who just passed by. 15 citizens injured, 19 officers hurt, none seriously, 31 arrested, 12 juveniles. More than 100 police rushed to the area, sealing off 8 square blocks in an effort at quarantine. The rioting subsided, then began all over again shortly before dawn. KNXT's camera car was hit by rock throwers early in the battle, then later tipped over by a mob of young men and set afire. Of violence.
It was like, imagine a 14-year-old kid ran out of a store and got shot in the back or something, you know what I'm saying? And then this happened, Well, no, it wasn't even that bad. The police just beat up a kid and then this happened. Not even a murder, right? This is what people was doing. Because that We Will Shoot Back was before Ida B. Wells. It was during Ida B. Wells, and it was after her too,
Senseless stoning of cars and shops. Go ahead!
ahead! Go ahead! Go ahead on!
Number of stores broken into, liquor stores cleaned out by mobs.
They really turned that.
And people how they be playing in the liquor stores cleaned out by mobs. And they talking about police beating up a black woman, you know what I'm saying? They was like, yo, it was a rumor that they did something to a pregnant woman, which probably true, you know what I'm saying? But they try to say it was a rumor. But you know, those black people had enough. Like, it was one too many police violations. And understand this, right? This is when the Deacons of Defense is going on, right? Malcolm X had just got assassinated a couple of months earlier, right? What I'm trying to tell you about 1965 is it went down. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this was one of the last times that it went down from then to now. You know what I'm saying? Well, something changed between this year. You feel me? And like I said, it was the Deacons of Defense down in Louisiana. It was the Harlem riots, you know what I'm saying, in the 1964, 1965, you know, in New York. It was things going on everywhere at this same time.
Over, now they're going to burn it. It's all the way up. There it goes.
Hey, that's what cost her, Bill. Hey, Bill, that's what cost her.
Widespread looting and rioting and broad.
All right, so I just want to give you a little jump.
Were pushed and shoved.
I think I already.
The complaint open.
Oh yeah, I wanted to play this one part.
The reasons. The first
not just the
world. Sex operated to social habits in Cambodia had never before taken a close look as casual as a stroll.
Yeah, now this dude, I don't believe him. I think he's like suspect. You know what I'm saying? Now he's supposed to be representing black people, but like, why are you on the news doing this? And I don't believe this dude here. But it's just me. It's my opinion.
Helped to burn as casual as a stroll in the park.
I threw the firebomb right in the front window, right in the front window. A friend of mine went in the store towards the back and threw a firebomb in the back, and the place went up in flames. But it was pretty well emptied by the looters and so forth.
There isn't much left, is there?
Here's a burned up shirt and so forth that could have been gotten, could have been used.
But most things were taken out before you burned.
As much as we could possibly give. Then we would decide to burn, and the cry in the streets was, burn, baby, burn.
Why would you burn out this kind of place?
We decided to burn the store because we felt this man hadn't been doing nothing but gaming on us anyway.
Now, you know, they was like, yo, black people burn the stores in their own neighborhoods. But the thing is, especially then, they was segregated stores that let them come in, but they charged black people more, maybe didn't hire them, paid them less, and all of this stuff, you know. But the key is they did not own these stores. Now, like, whether you agree with the tactics of burning it or just running them out is on you. But the fact is they had the ability to do one or the other, you know what I'm saying, instead of neither. You feel me? What is this one? My bad. Let me see.
Years since with a man.
I see smoke.
Oh yeah, this is what I wanted. I do want to show this one because this was. I probably.
His community exploding in anger. He told me when he saw troops on the streets of Watts, he thought his toy army men had come to life.
But I knew something had happened.
Back up.
Oh yeah, this is why, because he had a gym and stuff for kids. But I wanted to show this too because
create non-contact boxing and other fitness activities to engage young people inside the Nickerson Gardens Recreation Center and at the heart of a program called Watts Community Core.
To get our young people back into the center, to be involved, to be engaged, and then to watch it grow together.
Since the pandemic, WCC has focused on providing food for Watts residents with help from the NBC4 Emergency COVID-19 Response Fund. Gilbert tells me some of the young people who used to box now help deliver the food to seniors. He says Watts Community Core has brought the community together.
Latinos and African Americans. You start seeing them train together, work together.
The goal now is to get through the pandemic. The food and clothing donations help, and he's hoping the city will deliver on its promise to help build a bigger non-contact boxing arena for the kids he says could teach government leaders.
Teach them how to come together.
Gilbert says 55 years
Like
after
who's
the
getting the
riot,
free
the West
food here.
community has done its part to bring about healing, and now he's
Now, I shouldn't even have took a detour off of it. I probably shouldn't even have it on here. But like, you know, this brother was in there, but he's sitting there talking about the Latinos, and then look who he's giving the food away to.
Sam said to me today that
don't
all
have-
this would not have happened if the Negroes had been treated differently. And he said, if you treat somebody like a mad dog, he's going to behave like a mad dog. Is that a little too extreme for you, or do you believe that?
Well, I have to go along with that.
Let me see.
Go along with a person if they don't go along with you, and the white man. Go along with a person if they don't go along with you, and the white man have not been going along with us. So by doing this, we feel that we could make them go along with us a little better than they have been doing.
All right, so he's like, yo, we can make them do it. And I wanted to show this one because listen to the music they was playing throughout it. They did a great job, but making
And tear gas was obtained from rehearsed in the armory.
Now this is how they used to cover it on the news back then. They was trying to make it seem like, you know, they was just these thugs uprising or whatever they call a rebellion.
Had with the division sites at Camp Roberts for from the northern part.
I was listening to this, but listen to the music they started playing. And they did a great job with the music as far as propaganda.
Control tactics and
Like danger kind of music. All right, now here come the military. We're gonna play the military music, the good guys. What they come to save the day.
Recordings
My
just
bad.
got back.
See, they got throwing the commercials in now. They have no commercials. That's why I was tripping off this. Now it's the danger where the Negroes is in the community setting off the fireworks. Meanwhile, they just stopping police brutality.
the 40th Armored Division was fortunate in having a number of police officers as members of the division, and their assistance and liaison helped tremendously in working with generally outstanding. National Guard troops were billeted in schools, armories.
There's a climax where the good guys is kind of winning, but it's not over yet.
Staging area for National Guard troops. Hollywood preparations from looters and rioters would return to the scene. Therefore, it became necessary to deploy
Going into
personnel
danger.
not only around the area, but actually in the area.
Now they about to come with the thunder. Now they're killing us at this point. You know that music is just killing and dying.
Moved down into the area. They assisted materially in containing the disturbances and then relieved the elements of the 40th Armored Division, who were able to proceed to their annual field training site.
I look like Tijuana.
Their active duty training.
Now the guys coming to save the guys
The most
was already.
difficult periods were those of evening.
All right, so then they started blanking it when they like pulling the guns and tones on us and killing us and stuff like that. But it's and I'm not gonna play all of this. It's certain parts that I wanted to play that I wanted y'all to see.
Foreign policies of the Cardinal.
They see millions and billions of dollars spent on rockets and the first one thing that I sent overseas to other countries.
Sent to
And here in
Russia.
their own country, you know, they're hungry, they're out of job.
Finally, there was haggling over the poverty program. Indeed, the very day the riots began.
For what purpose? Of pinning everybody down or what?
No, I'm simply asking you to explain what the thinking of the police is. I have no.
Well, the thing is, the police said they have a city to protect. And they can't send all the men in to watch and allow all the rest of the 450 square miles to be open season to every petty criminal and burglar in town. So this is the answer to the question.
Someone like Dr. Martin Luther King should go down there?
No, King doesn't. We've got local residents here. King doesn't put out all the fires in the United States.
It's like, this is it. Don't ask me about this
Negroes here
damn Negro. So now they're calling in the local Negroes to try to ask for peace.
to these people and tell them that this is inordinate and they shouldn't continue it.
King
United
don't
States, there are some local Negroes here that are leaders.
King don't put out all the fires. There's some damn local Negroes here.
No, King doesn't. We've got local residents here. King doesn't put out all the fires in the United States. There are some local Negroes here that are leaders in these situations. Now, we would assume that they have some influence on them, or they wouldn't be representing them. Now, those individuals are certainly in a position to go down there and talk to these people and tell them that this is inordinate and they shouldn't continue it.
That Thursday afternoon, one of those leaders Parker referred to, the Reverend
Yeah, exactly, Black Magus and Shanique. Yeah, exactly.
H. Brookins, with other ministers and politicians, black and white, called a peace meeting at a neighborhood playground.
And I submit to you that we shall not see a Harlem or Rochester or a New York. We can solve it. It is yet time.
But Brookins and the others learned they themselves did not understand their people, did not know the intensity of their rage, and could not plumb the depth of their hate.
Because I was on Avalon last night. See, and I'm going to tell you something. Tonight it's going to be another one, whether you like it or not. Wait. Listen. See, we, the Negro people down here have gotten completely fed up. And you know what
Black
they're
people.
gonna do tonight?
Negro people.
They're not gonna fight down here no more. You know where they going? They after the white people. Now they after the white people. They gonna congregate. They gonna caravan out in Inglewood.
He said we gonna caravan out to Inglewood instead of burn. We gonna burn their stuff down at night. And then black people like, oh Lord Jesus.
You know where they going? They after the white people. Now they after the white people. They gonna congregate. They gonna caravan out in Inglewood, Playa del Rey, and everywhere else the white man supposed to stay. They gonna do the white man in tonight.
And they cut that brother Mike off quick. They're like, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Get him out the cookout. Kick him out the cookout. Me, Ida B. Wells, we all got kicked out the cookout. That's why I can relate to her. She felt like, but you know what? Forget y'all cookout. Y'all got people of color cookouts anyway.
Violence carries the seed of its own destruction. And that if for us to continue to try and meet violence with violence is the wrong way. That's all. It's pure and simple. I believe that while we talk about people staying off the street,
So we got local
every
Negroes to
citizen's
handle
right
this.
is to walk the street, but if he must walk it in dignity and respect. I believe, on the other hand, that there ought not to be any concentration of police power in this community tonight.
After that meeting, Brookins and John Buck
Right after that meeting, after the Negro delegation got sit down to the Negro and asked for the police to get removed from the area, and they think it would solve the tension. Let's see how the Negroes who's calling for, kissing ass. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but it is what it is.
Walk it in dignity and respect. I believe, on the other hand, that there ought not to be any concentration of police power in this community tonight.
After that meeting, Brookins and John Buggs of the County Human Relations Commission, a group with a record of success in dealing with racial troubles, took their recommendation that there be less obvious policing of the area Thursday night to Deputy Police Chief Roger Murdoch. The police department indicated...
Let's go tell the white man our idea about them getting the police out the community. Because,
Deputy Police Chief Roger Murdoch. The police department indicated to us that they were going to run the city their own way, and they would prove who runs the city of Los Angeles.
Get out of here,
Murdoch's attitude was one I would suspect from Jim Clark in Alabama. We are not in Alabama. We want to work with the police.
We in California. We not in Florida. I mean, Virginia. I mean, North Carolina. I mean, Ohio. I mean, damn.
Police. We want to work with elected officials, not against them. When we returned to 118th Street after having talked with Mr. Roger Murdoch of the 77th Division, we had to report what we found. It was like lighting a fuse. They immediately said, well, all right, we told you that your leadership didn't amount to much. You see what they think about you. So now let us do it our own way.
He said you couldn't get them N-words to stop, so now get the hell out of here, you N-word. Well, you useless. Right after they held that whole conference to try to stop him, and brothers was like, no, we caravan down to Inglewood tonight. Y'all learn how to caravan. That's all I can say. And now he like, I can't believe this. It's 1965. You know what I'm saying? And the police ain't gonna help us. I can't believe this. We just got the civil rights legislation passed. You know what I'm saying? It's the 15th Amendment. I'm a human, damn it.
You see what they think about you. So now let us do it our own way. At this time, about 6 police cars moved in, blowing sirens with about 500 people lining the streets. And it was just like an explosion, Bill. Everything just went haywire. The frustration of the Reverend Brookins and his associates goes far toward explaining the why of Watts as well as the how. Actually, from the quarrel over the performance, as word of the shot changed, Friday afternoon when Lieutenant Governor Glenn Anderson signed the proclamation.
Right, they are selling us again, and we're tired of being
Less friendly than he might have expected.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Force of 14,000 armed men finally broke the back of the riot. As the smoke lifted above Watts and the shooting died down, the soul-searching and blame-shifting began.
Now, the police was just running around shooting everybody, like men, women, children, people who ain't had nothing to do with it, all that, you know what I'm saying? The police was just being the police, you know? And the people was tired and fed up, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, they just did police brutality in front of them, and they ain't have no cell phones, so they just do rocks, you know what I'm saying? Today, we just pull out our cell phones, you feel me? And so this is what, and then you seen like, yo, MLK don't put out all the fires. We got our local Negroes to come out here to put out the fires, and then they couldn't put out the fire. And so now they just shot a bunch of people, you know what I'm saying? And then this is like after the riot, you know, MLK coming to town.
Martin Luther King did not cut short his vacation in Puerto Rico, but went to Watts after the rioting and found the atmosphere less friendly than he might have expected.
You all know my philosophy. You all know that I believe firmly in nonviolence. Or maybe some of you don't quite agree with this. I want you to be willing to say that. And
sure, we like to be nonviolent, but we up here in Los Angeles area, we're not turning that other cheek. Number two, in the fact that our Negro community leaders where are they? They are not here, and they're not coming down because
they tried to show up the first day. Like, where are the Negro community leaders here, Mr. King?
We're not turning that other cheek. Number two, in the fact that our Negro community leaders where are they? They are not here, and they're not coming down because, all right, that's right. They are selling us again, and we're tired of being sold as slaves. Don't burn, but smile. Smile. Wait a minute. All we want is jobs. We get jobs, we don't bother nobody. We don't get no jobs, we'll tear up Los Angeles, period. What about what you think, brother, about the police?
Right. Yo, even Martin Luther King was like, what? That's all you want, job? What about police brutality? He was like, what you talking about, fool? Even Martin Luther King was like, what about police brutality, brother?
Don't burn, but smile. Smile. Wait a minute. All we want is jobs. We get jobs, we don't bother nobody. We don't get no jobs, we'll tear up Los Angeles, period.
What about what you think, brother, about the police situation? Do you?
The police are burning them up too.
Oh, yeah.
Governor
I forgot
Brown,
about that.
hurrying back from
He was like, what about the police, dude? Oh, yeah. So they, of course, you know,
I go to work, and could make enough money to have somebody watch my baby. I'd love to go to work.
You mean there were a lot of people
These
hungry?
people have been hungry all the time. Like just two or 3 days before all this happened, these people were just about storming there, waiting for the first till they got their check.
Right.
They needed it.
You mean this was a continuing situation down here?
All the
Yo, what up, Holly Favorite? Holly Favorite was there. That's what's up. Well, that's not what's up, but you know what I mean. Yeah, exactly, Shanique.
Well, I mean, don't they get the money from welfare? I mean, we have the aid.
One of the Negro officials notably absent during the riot hit hard at the poverty tangle.
I am also ashamed that we, including I, squabbled and fought over the war on poverty program, which is almost scandalous.
But Mayor Yorty denied that he
Right.
right there.
See, y'all can watch this thing, you know.
Breach between Negroes
as much as we could possibly give, then we would decide to burn and to cry.
Common attitude among the youthful rioters.
I threw the fire. They held us at gunpoint continuously, and then this.
All right, so y'all can watch that. It's the watch rebellion or riot. I just wanted to show y'all that one part right there. Yeah, the 90s, and that's interesting, because and this is like, I'm sorry, I went too far with this, but I wanted to play a brother who was there, you know what I'm saying? I know that's what I'm saying, like, and it's not so much that particular event, it's just that's just how it works, you know what I'm saying? Somebody gets fed up, but it's like you can be one person, but then like if you don't have like backup or community, and then like people are scared, it's like, you know what I'm saying, like the most that we could do is try to encourage and show people that there's people before us that have done this, you know what I'm saying? So listen to this brother here.
The police and the mayor and all these people defined what they called the curfew area as it was a 54 square mile area. And it's my understanding that Watts is only about 2.5 square miles in size, Watts itself. It didn't start in Watts, and it was not confined to Watts. That's why it's more properly referred to as the South LA Rebellion. And I say rebellion because when people rise up against injustice, that's rebellion. When people riot, when they just disobey the law and act out and take on the police or whoever it happens to be that challenge them, that's a riot. But this was no riot. This was a rebellion. I didn't see Marquette and them get stopped. I operated from the scene that developed after the arrest, west of Avalon. And I could hear it from the kitchen window in our apartment. And I started calling guys from my neighborhood saying that something, some big screen there at the window, and he could hear all the noise. Marquette punched one of the police. And then they started trying to subdue him. They had called other police. They called sheriffs, LAPD as well to come and assist them. And Marquette's mother, Rena Fry, worked at a beauty salon down there to see what was going on. And
y'all can look up the incident, but
and they started me grabbing her, how the police are.
You know how the police do.
And so the rumors, and the crowd just kept.
Let me see. Let me get to the part.
And we must, businessman, V for Slauson Village. And I was turning to people in the crowd saying, it's not about what neighborhood we're from. We have a community emergency. The community is under attack. And we must defend ourselves and take on these attackers. And then I would turn back around and face these police who you see the backs of their helmets. I was telling the police, I said, you just a white gang, and we're going to whip you and run you out of here tonight. It was building because people are watching it. It's on all the news channels. And people are coming from everywhere else, and people are just fed up. And as Bird said, it was hot. That day was one of them hot days. And, and so we didn't have nothing else to do. The police, what's his name? I can't call his name. But he was the first to die. It was right at 88th and Broadway. Brother had just had a haircut. He walked out the barbershop. And he, was it Leon Mosley? I'm trying to get his name right. But he had walked out of the barbershop. And he was feeling good about the haircut, and he had run his hand over his head like that. And he walked over next to me. The police are in the middle of Broadway, and we pelting him with stones and bottles and stuff. And he walks out of the barbershop not completely aware of what's going on. And the bottles and stuff are coming at the police. So then they start firing. And at first I'm thinking they shooting in the air. And then this brother's right next to me. He gets hit And I see him go back and his knees never bent. He just goes back and he falls flat onto the pavement. And I said, damn, they're actually shooting at us. And they said he was the first to die. And that's guys and stuff. He to abandon that position and take up a position somewhere else. They taken the cards, so were killed. And most of the people, a good number of the people, were intoxicated, shot through the back, shot for not obeying an order to stop when they at one of the posts where the police and military had set up and so on. But the uprising was a hell of a thing. Joe Nelson Bridget, who was it's said to be the 22nd person to die in the uprising. He was 22 years old. He's Bird's cousin. But Joe Nelson Bridget was in a store on Florence and Miramonte. There's a drugstore or whatever it was. And he went out with a pistol in both hands, firing at sheriffs because they had surrounded the place and ordered everybody inside, these shadowy figures that they could see that come out with their hands up. And he come out like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and he wounded, I think, at least one, maybe two sheriffs, and they literally cut him in half with a shotgun blast. But he went out. He was the most, probably the most heroic figure to die during the uprising. So when we do Watts Rebellion commemorations, we used to do them every year after the uprising. We would give out a special Joe Nelson Bridget Award to the person that had stood up best against police terror during that preceding year.
All right. Is that he wasn't involved? Yeah. So I mean, that's what his story is from. Y'all can watch the whole thing, but he said, and okay, so let me do this because also not only is that Ida B. Wells' birthday, it's one day that I missed, and that was the Micah X Day. You know what I'm saying, Micah Johnson Day, and he mentioned the Joe Nelson Bridget Award. You know what I'm saying, for the person who has displayed the most courage or whatever and stuff like that. So I wanted to play some of this real quick, right? And then because I did say this, because I said last week, not only did I miss the Michael Johnson Day, but Ida B. Wells' birthday was coming up. So I definitely wanted to shout her out. And I definitely want to play this. If it plays, it's probably not going to play. Now it's like freezing for the first time today, but that's all right. You know what I'm saying? Because this is the last thing here. And it might take a minute, but, it's all good. I wanted to play this video because I missed the Michael Johnson Day. And I guess he would get nominated for the Joe Nelson Bridget Award, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not sure who's, going to get it next, All right, so here it go.
Frantic final moments when he scrawled a message on the wall using his own blood. ABC's Matt and doing tactical drills in his backyard. Nobody else knew what he was playing. And his laptop.
My bad. All right, I guess they don't want me to show this one, which is a good reason to show it anyway, because this is not long, but I did want to show something about it because this is like, on top of that, you know what I'm saying, on top of Ida B. Wells' Day and bringing it to life what she did. I've already been on here for mad long, but we're going to play it anyway.
Alone, still they're picking through his cell phones and his laptops in order to determine if anybody else knew what he was planning. Now, they say that he'd been scribbling in those journals you mentioned, that he had practiced bomb detonation and doing tactical drills in his backyard, all in order to become what they call a killing machine.
This morning, ABC News learning Micah Johnson had been planning an even more destructive attack on police for months.
He was amassing the capability to do more mayhem than he did on that day.
Black Lives Matter! But police say he saw that Black Lives Matter protest as a target of opportunity, one that he'd been training for. taking self-defense courses and doing tactical drills in the backyard of his middle-class home. Authorities say he even detailed some of the training and planning in a journal.
The person talked extensively about shoot and move protocols and tactics.
Shooting and moving tactics Johnson used to confuse and kill police officers.
He had a lot of magazines, and he was ready for an extended firefight.
The Army veteran was carrying a semi-automatic rifle and a handgun when he began sniping at police near El Centro College around 9 p.m. Thursday night. Dallas Police Chief David Brown telling CNN his officers were trapped in a kill zone.
We are learning some of the positions of our deceased officers, and it was they were in a funnel, and it ended up being a fatal funnel.
Towards midnight, SWAT teams corner Johnson and negotiate with him for 2 hours.
He just basically lied to us, playing games, laughing at us, singing.
Johnson leaving a final message.
He may have been wounded as he made his way up the staircase, and he was writing in his own blood?
That appears to be the case. On the way up the staircase, he scrolled the letters of RB.
Police are still investigating its meaning. At 1:30 a.m.
Yo, I encourage everybody to celebrate Michael Johnson Day. Take something red, like red chalk or something, and write the letters RB somewhere. You know what I'm saying?
Police fatally wounding Johnson with a robot-borne bomb, killing him. A tactic that triggered protests around Dallas Sunday.
The use of that robot bearing the bomb was controversial. Do you think it was warranted?
I do believe it was warranted. It saved lives. It's been a tragedy for more officers to lose their life.
Oh, RBG. Well, yo, just say RB because they just said RB. You know what I'm saying? So just put RB somewhere in red tomorrow.
Now, authorities decided to go ahead and detonate that bomb despite the fact that they knew that there were people in.
All right, one more, John, real quick. I'm sorry, and then y'all let me. I'm gonna say something.
We're getting a closer look at his motive and what investigators found inside his home.
Authorities say this is the deadly sniper, Micah Xavier Johnson, a former military man who went hunting for police, specifically white officers.
One officer down. There appears to have been one gunman with no known links to or inspiration from any international terrorist organization.
Law enforcement sources tell ABC News Johnson was armed for his shooting spree with an assault rifle and 2 handguns.
It's been a tale of cowardice by an assassin.
Johnson served in the Army Reserve from 2009 until 2015, doing a tour in Afghanistan. According to police, his Facebook page reveals some of that rage against police. He liked a page which said, quote, "Kill everything blue that moved." Overnight, police searched Johnson's home in Mesquite, Texas. Police say they found bomb-making materials, ballistic vests, rifles, ammunition, and a personal journal of combat tactics.
This was a well-planned, well-thought-out, evil.
Get the Negro out there to talk about it.
Tragedy.
Neighbors in this quiet suburb of Dallas were stunned that the killer was living among them.
This guy lived around the corner from me and was willing to take people's lives that he didn't even know, you know.
What, girl? You mean like they take our lives and they don't even know us? Oh, okay.
Didn't even, and was willing to take people.
Them.
I live right around
This
the
guy
corner
lived
from me.
around the corner from me and was willing to take people's lives that he didn't even know, you know. It's scary.
Micah Johnson's sister
Real
took to
scary.
Facebook writing, quote, "The news will say what they think, but those who knew him know this wasn't like him."
President Obama is cutting his European trip short in order to visit Dallas in the wake of the deadly shooting.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all beat me to it, right? Because, all right, look, if y'all want to talk about anything that I said, and like I said, it's not, I got one more thing that I'm going to show. So y'all just say in the chat if you want to come on here. If not, this is going to be the last thing. All right. But, yeah, they know they was not going to give him a Happy Meal. And the thing I'll say is that, right, because even if the Michael Johnson thing, if you say that that's not like real or it's fake, then that's a sad thing that at this point we got to make up something to be a threat. You know what I'm saying? When historically all throughout our time here or interacting with the Europeans, there has been like warfare. We have been fighting back. You know what I'm saying? You have great people like Ida B. Wells who often do get left out of history, probably because she didn't bite her tongue, right? She wasn't going to suck up to nobody. You know what I mean? And brothers and sisters have fought back like this entire time. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, if y'all want to come in here, you just let me know in the chat while I play this last video, and I'll let you come on here. All right.
And he told me, I can't like you too much because I may have to kill you. That's what he told me. And it was just like, who is this guy? In response to the Philando Castile shooting, in response to Alton Sterling shooting in Baton Rouge. And that the next day, which July 7th, was the National Day of Protest. So I was in SWAT at the time, and we're usually tasked with working a protest, but that day we were patrolling. We didn't work the protest. Yes, it was a peaceful protest.
So he did not survive the encounter. He did not survive the encounter. But they said that the reparations was with their Civil War, but millions of us died. Only a couple thousand of them. They got a lot more to go.
Get out of the street! Get down! We got one more guy down up there! Hey, down!
All SWAT elements to 801 Main Street. All SWAT elements to 801 Main Street.
What do you do?
I started in that direction, code 3. I got about halfway there, and listening to the radio, I'm thinking, when I get out of my car, I'm probably gonna get in a shooting. So what I did, I stopped, put my entry vest on, grabbed my rifle, charged it, and put it around my neck, and drove like that.
Yo, imagine that, right? You'd be like, yo, damn, I could be in war. It's been like 700 years, right, of straight violence against me. I might as well, you know what I'm saying? Like Ida B. Wells said, a shotgun has a special place, but, you know, like, wearing my vest up and, you know what I'm saying, I realized I was driving in a war zone. Imagine the difference in the mindset instead of, you know, the situation that we do it for others.
We were directed to come to headquarters first. And once we got to headquarters, I could hear.
Yeah, and I gotta say, shouts out to Koku because he played a joint on his joint last night when he was like Michael Johnson's last words.
Shooting going on downtown, and I told both lieutenants at the time we had, hey, we need to leave here. We can't be here.
Tell me about the scene when you roll up outside El Centro.
It was surreal. I could see parts of humans that have been shot.
Parts of Homo Neanderthal.
I could see a lot of broken glass, squad cars on flat. People, it was just mayhem. It was just mayhem. And I gotta be honest with you, to go in that school was the hardest thing I ever done. It was the hardest, absolute hardest thing I ever done, to think that I'm going to die inside this school. Because I said that to myself. I'm going to die inside this school. It was just overwhelming, I should say, to push.
But I was like thinking of my country that I don't have.
Into that school through broken glass, smelling the gunpowder, and it was just a horrible feeling.
So you walk in, you get into the atrium, you're like, oh my God, there's 1,000 threats. What do you do next?
At that point, I think we saw blood trail, and we just started following the blood trail, and we got in the stairwell, and the stairwell is like a kill box. It's gonna funnel you where he wants you to be.
Like Megan said, yo, kill box is not what they said.
And once we got to the landing of the stairwell, I could see blood where he had waited there to ambush somebody. So I'm seeing all the blood that he was bleeding. So he stood there a while to ambush us or ambush officers. At that point, I see Kennedy, and we make eye contact, and we do a signal. We have hand signals because they were posted looking very intently at an area. It wasn't safe. Once I married up with Kennedy and those guys, I started talking to them.
Oh, that was threats. I missed that. What do you mean, Black Megas? What was your last message? Try to put it in again, Bukhari.
To the suspect, and basically, I just wanted to slow everything down.
I just want to talk to you, X. Can you talk to me for a second? What's going on today, man?
He was really upset about the shootings. I teach a lot of classes.
Which one, the Emmett Till one, or I'm sorry, which year is it? I'm sorry again. Sam Ho's lynching. What? Oh no, this is what year is this? Trayvon Martin. No, not 2014. Oh, it's like I forget what year. 2020. The brother Bakari was talking about with a banana and some grapes. I don't know. I forget which one. Which one I'm tired of.
On de-escalation, so I knew the stats on the shootings when you break them down by race, and I told him that most people in this country that are shot.
Oh yeah. There's 1,000 threats.
Are white males. He didn't believe me.
I think you have a valid point.
Oh yeah, you heard that? He was like, most people who are shot are white males. Or if that is true, it's the ones who's shooting at the police. But we understand when we say unarmed black people, yeah, we understand what happens. It's only been, 600? Well, no, y'all say America is like 200 something years, so 300. I don't know when y'all start. I would say 6,000, right? But I could say the last 742 years it's been this way.
Else, he didn't believe me.
I think you have a valid point.
Oh, I knew the stats on the shootings when you break them down by race, and I told him that most people in this country that are shot are white males. He didn't believe me.
He must have listened to Thomas Sowell on his way to the negotiation or something.
I think you have a valid point. But listen to me, X. Can you hear me? I can't hear your point because I'm too worried about being shot.
He wanted all of us to transition tonight. And I said, what do you mean transition? He said, transition from this life to the next. So I'm thinking, oh, okay, he wants us to die. So I knew I had to get the emotionality down to get the rationality up. And while I was talking to him, I have a habit of saying, bro. He wanted us to come back there and shoot it out with him. I said, we can't do that, bro.
Oh, I forget his name. I don't know. Sergeant Larry Gordon is his name. But I've experienced this in real life where the black cop is the ones like, what are you doing, bro? That ain't even like crazy. He hopping out like wilding out. And this is when I'm like younger and stuff, and we just chilling at the park as like teenagers, just minding our own business. And the black cop one's hopping out, hey, what are you doing with the guns out? And you know what I'm saying? They got to tell him to chill. Like even on Bakari video, where a brother was the first one to say something. And from day one, like there was the black cops who would not harass other white people, but they would do it for them. And we know that this exists because we see the people in those positions all the time. You know what I'm saying? Where they be like, yo, and shit. Real first riflemen, but just in the real life, he be trolling, but like just in the real life context.
Okay, I won't call you, bro. I apologize.
Jeremy, let me find some more. They'll get these scheduled.
Yeah, just hang.
All right.
You said we're killing your black brothers, right? I'm black?
Are you though? He's like, you killing your black brothers, right? By doing this, I'm black. But my thing is, are you though?
You said we're killing your black brothers, right? I'm black? Did you know I'm black?
You're lying.
I'm black, bro. I just went to college.
Then he laughed. And I did that on purpose. And because I want to get the emotionality down. And if I heard him laugh, I can get that emotionality down and that rationality will go up. So that's what I was basically trying to do.
Did you think he was going to give up?
Initially, at first, once he wasn't shooting anymore, I'm like, well, maybe he'll give up. But after talking to him, I asked him just to put the rifle down. I told him, hey, CNN is outside. I'll let you talk to him. I said, you have valid points. And he said, I've said enough with this rifle. So I'm like, okay. So he's not going to give up.
You know what's going to happen, X? You know what's going to happen if you kill yourself? You know what's going to happen? What? The media is going to tell their own story. I don't care how people know what I've done. But X, we want to know. Can we find out?
He's a blue.
You not see the proof? He's fighting. That's what I'm doing. If I was a soldier and I was killing Iraqis,
He's really a white, a caramel, trying to be white.
and now that I kill y'all with real terrorists, now what? I'm in the same.
But is it going to be looked at that way, X?
I don't care how people know.
But I'm saying you're doing this for black people, right?
Yeah.
How is black people going to look at it?
There are many of us who feel the way I do.
I understand that. I understand that. But maybe if you tell your story on some type of news channel, the people who don't feel you will feel you.
If you try to be like Mamie Taylor, I don't know her last name, but Emmett Till, Mamie Till, right, and get on the news and tell your story, maybe you might get justice, or maybe they'll die of cancer or the old age. You know what I'm saying? Peacefully in their beds.
Don't feel you will feel you.
Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Kwame.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even want to say nothing about the X, you know what I'm saying? Hey, X, listen to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing too with, but this ain't like this is like 69 or nothing, like, you know what I'm saying, where they on the NOI. And they try to be like the NOI was the cause of the Watts riot, you know what I'm saying? They blamed it. They were like, oh, Negro agitators, and I think the NOI has something to do with it, you know what I'm saying? Because you know that's 1965, of course. Yo, eyes wide open. Yo, what up, bro? It's been like years, bro. What up, yo?
There's too many people talking. Rest in peace to everybody. The talking is over. It's time for revolution, brother.
I think he was angry.
The talking is over.
You heard what, and that's why I respect what my brother MD2 was saying. That's why I had to say something, because he's right, you know.
The talking is over. It's time for revolution, brother.
I think he was angry, and he felt powerless, I think. And that's why I think he took the rifle, took it upon himself to attack us, because he felt powerless and he wanted to die to show, because he says he's doing this for his people. And that's what I was saying. And I think the hook that I had with him was that I was an African-American male.
Oh, yeah.
Because he told me, he asked me.
That's my weakness, so y'all don't have to worry about that. I'll scold myself later, all right? Y'all got to worry about it.
If you're my brother, you should turn your weapon on those next to you.
You heard him. He said, if you my brother, then turn those weapons on those next to you.
You should turn your weapon on those next to you.
If you are my brother, turn the weapon on those behind you. You know what? Nah.
Yo, he said behind you. Dude said next to you. You see how even that, he was like, they is behind me, right? But he was like, no, my brother's next to me, my fellow white officer standing next. He said behind you, fool. He didn't stutter what he said. He said turn them on the ones that's behind you, not beside you, because they'll never be beside you, fool.
Turn your weapon on those next to you.
I'd be Wells told you this. I don't know what I could tell you.
If you are my brother, turn the weapon on those behind you. You know what? Nah. Play the long game. Play the long game.
Right.
Stay on their team. About a year later, when you're out there, kill them all. Kill them all at the funeral. Kill them all at the wake.
I'll play that one more time. I ain't gonna say nah. I'll just play it one more time instead of saying something. It says,
because he told me, he asked me, those next to you.
If you are my brother, turn the weapon on those behind you. You know what? Nah. Play the long game. Play the long game. Stay on their team. About a year later, when you're out there, kill them all. Kill them all at the funeral. Kill them all at the wake.
I was blown away. I was blown away by that, because we all looked at each other. We just looked at each other like, who is this guy? Who is he? I heard an actress say one time that she falls in love a little bit with all her co-stars when she's doing movies. And it's kind of the same, just so you can have empathetic responses, so you can talk to them, talk about
It's like I pretend like I'm a fellow Negro like you, so that you can welcome me into your circle.
families, talk about their likes and dislikes.
Yo, I'm sorry, Cassandra. Thank you for coming, yo. I'm sorry. I'm about to wrap it up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. I had to say all this stuff. Happy birthday to Ida B. Wells. I'm sorry.
And you talk about how you're going to try to help them. 'Cause I'm not a clinician, but I don't think he was mentally ill. He was very lucid. He was very determined, very charismatic. It's like a nice guy.
I've been going to therapy. It really
Damn. They be killing me with this stuff, you know, but that's what it is.
Oh, X, we talking, having a good conversation right here. Think we're having a pretty good conversation? Yeah, better, I bet. The guy's smart.
MG2, my brother, I already know. Yo, MG2, could you believe? I know that you wouldn't feel this way, and I apologize because, like, no, I'm not. I agree with everything that MG2 said, you know what I'm saying? But, like, back up, use a suicide mission. I can only just do this, you know what I'm saying? Michael Johnson day, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, forget the day. Like, I would rather take the results, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, it's a team effort, you know what I'm saying? Like, Ida B. Wells and them, they work together, you know what I'm saying? She got kicked out of a lot of cookouts. I got kicked out of a lot of cookouts, but, like, you know, shouts out to my brother MG2 in the building.
A guy as smart as you probably had a good few conversations. Say it again. You can. You can, X.
Nah, this needs to be done. This is my sacrifice for the people.
It's my sacrifice for the people. Now, if this is fake, you know what I'm saying, that means we have fallen off all the way, that we got to make fake stories that of us standing up for ourselves, because we used to do that all the time, but apparently we have become you know what I'm saying, like cowards or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be, you know what I'm saying, extra to like walk around. Like, you should be exercising anyway as far as health, you know what I'm saying? Like, but this brother here, like people like Ida B. Wells, she bit somebody in 18 something, and you know, y'all know what could have happened. And his brothers was having the courage to do this, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, these are like, you know, shouts out to, let me just play it.
This is my sacrifice for the people.
How does the conversation turn? Okay, we're going to have to do something else. This guy's not coming out.
We were afraid that he was going to charge us, so we had to think of something to do. And then SWAT, you just try to think, how can we solve this problem? And the only thing we could think of, a couple guys came up with. Matter of fact, Marshall Milligan was the first guy I've heard say something about it, putting a device on a robot.
And by the way, this is almost over. If y'all want the link, just let me know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I will put it in there, but, you know, about the topic, you know what I'm saying? Or some productive that'll add on to it, you know what I'm saying? So just say yes, you know what I'm saying? Or just say put it in there, you know.
I set it up is I was telling him we had problems with the robots because we have robots sitting in the hallway and we're watching the monitor so we'll know when he's coming. And I told him, hey, and I asked him, can I give him a phone on the robot? Because I knew I was going to have to set it up.
What'd he say?
He said, sure. Yeah, send me the phone back here. It's like, okay.
See, he said, sure. Okay, so we know not to say take anything from them the next time, all right? So if you ever in that situation, know that they're lying their ass off and they're going to try to kill you the first opportunity that they get. So don't trust nothing they say.
I knew I was going to have to set it up.
What'd he say?
He said, sure. Yeah, send me the phone back here. It's like, okay.
So walk me through just the robot. What happened then?
Seemed like it took forever to get the.
All right, I'm gonna put the link in there, and then I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna finish this. I'm gonna put the link in there, and the people come on here. We're gonna make it quick because I've been long all by myself. This is the first time I took 3 hours myself, but it's all good because we're celebrating Ida B. Wells' birthday today, and I think that I can't walk in her shoes. I couldn't do a fifth of what she does. You know what I'm saying? Like, but we definitely celebrating Ida B. Wells' birthday for whatever kind of journalism that we can get in for the people here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna play the rest of it. So he's like, I open, like, so while he trusted me, I was like, I asked him to open a question so we could sneak up on him. That's what he's saying his tactics were. If this ever was to happen, I'm not saying whether it's real or fake or whatnot, but this is what this dude says. Damn. Damn, we didn't blow him up. Oh man, let me stop, man. Oh man, yo, what up? Yo, what's going on, Black Megas? What up, Shanique?
Hey, forecast.
I think Black Megas came on here first. What up, my brother?
Yo, let me say this. It's a mantra that my brother Irritated Genie made, and we said it every time we called into the show. And then after Michael Xavier Johnson, Cosmo Septemberrod, and Darren Seals, we added on some things. So praise Nat Turner, glory to Garvey, long live the spirit of Dr. Khaled Abdul Muhammad. May we forever walk in the shoes of Cosmo Septemberrod, Michael Xavier Johnson, and always do it like Darren Seals, BB448 Black Liberation Family. Bro, man, when it comes to Ida B. Wells, right? First off, I had to say that today is actually the 1-year anniversary of Black Family Vanguard. We started doing our very first firearm safety course on this day. And it was poignant that we chose this day to honor the sisters and all of our ancestors who talked about, arming yourself, Black protection, self-defense, all the things of that nature. If you can't take care of your life, if you can't preserve it, if you can't fight for it, then you're only going to be a servant, a slave to those who have the power. When you talked about the sister going over to, actually, I don't think you said specifically about her going to England, but you did speak about, that unity she was looking for, right? And she writes about,
she was gonna cuss us out for saying this, so be careful.
she writes about this herself in her own writings. Man, I have the book. I think it's something about light. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but it's a book that was compiled of a bunch of essays that she had ever put together. When you read over the book and you go over the writings that she discusses why she went over to Europe, France, Manchester, Liverpool, and things like that, she talks about she was looking for that commonality, right? She was looking for humanity in the inhumane people. Then in that fact, we have to hold her to the candlelight that we hold ourselves to. If our people are not made aware of people and their mentalities, of who the enemy is, then they're going to think that they can reach out to the humanity of those people. And that's what she was doing. Because in the UK, of course, they didn't believe that in the American South, Black people were being starved out, lynched, murdered, bones being ripped off, flesh being ripped off, all of those things. They didn't believe those things until she went there and showed them evidence of it. And so now you have, people in Britain, oh, well, we were the first to outlaw slavery and everything of that nature. Yeah, this is horrendous. And that's the game that they tried to play with her. We could only assume that eventually she seen them for who they were. And I would say that's one of the reasons why she was poisoned, as many believe, just like with Booker T. Washington. Once they found out what the game was and that they were being used, they started to speak out against those who were the agent provocateurs. And just like again with Booker T. Washington, it was believed that he was poisoned on that train on his way back to Tuskegee.
Yeah. I'll let what's going on, Shanique? I'll let Shanique go in first. What's going on, Shanique?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I don't have very much to say. I was just really glad that you did this show. I heard about it earlier, Bakari, and then I wound up later. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, and you can speak whenever you come back. But yeah, I feel what you're saying, Black Megas. And the thing is, when you talk about her coming from where she because I think that she was never she suffered from the people of color kind of wanting to be, and it is true, she went to Europe, and that's why I say I would disagree with her about that, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the few things that I would disagree with her on. But I would still say she was race first. She didn't hesitate. She didn't bite her tongue when it came to them. She kind of knew the game when it came to them, but she still felt like it was hope in other people, you know what I'm saying? And I would say that because I disagree with her, but I still feel like everything that she did, she was probably the most gangster Black person that actually did something, you know what I'm saying? Not because there's probably some unknown person that probably actually is, and we know that, you know what I'm saying? But as far as people go, and then they leave her out for a reason because she actually spoke against everything, and it didn't take her long. She always got kicked out of whatever she was in because she spoke up about something, you know what I'm saying? She got kicked out of teaching because she spoke against it. She got kicked out of the NAACP because she spoke against the shysters, you know what I'm saying? And this was 2-3 years, you know what I'm saying, within 2-3 year period, you know what I'm saying? W.E. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, she got into it with everybody pretty much, you know what I'm saying? But Shanique, I'll let Shanique finish. Go ahead, Shanique.
Sorry, my phone was having issues. No, just that I think that it's amazing how the individuals that have so much to add to what we need to be doing right now have already come and gone, and the voices that they wish so hard and they're trying so hard to silence are those ones from the past that really had pure fire. Because if we had just 10 more Ida B. Wells right now, it'd be a whole nother thing going on. The energy would not be the same at all. And I think that that's the point that all of the suppression in education and the mixing of society and the inclusion, that whole idea, all of that is so that we forget that, hey, first, you guys are heinous to us now and have been, and you continue to be complete maniacs and just diabolical demons. And we need and have had individuals that were just one woman or one man turn this whole thing upside down. But the idea is that we have to, from our own homes, speak the names of Ida B. Wells, speak the names of individuals who did not say, maybe we could find a way to deal and to work with them. There is no working with. That's like I was telling you about that movie I saw, was it Two Distant Strangers? It was so crazy that this young boy is attempting to appeal to this cop who in this loop of time keeps killing him. And then finally in the very end, he thinks that he can talk to him. And of course, you know, spoiler, I'm not gonna, but the bottom line is we know how it always goes. The story never changes, yet we keep hope alive. Like the idea that at some point we'll find that magic potion that they'll say, oh yeah, they're humans. Oh yeah, we should treat them kindly and we should be honest and fair to them. No, just stop. We've got to be a little more subtle. We've got to be a little more careful, and we've got to be a little more fiery about the fact that we deserve to live. That's it.
All right, and before I pass it to Black Megas, I'll say this, you know, and the thing is, right, because, and I showed that too, because like, you know, as much as I would pick Ida B. Wells as my heroes, as others, some people would say W.E. Du Bois, some people would say certain, but I'm not going to even teach out of Ida B. Wells' lenses, you know what I'm saying? First, I'm going to just display the facts. When we teach in history, we could just go year by year, step by step, and you could develop your own mind frame. So that's like even like the follower thing that we need to like have. And I'm not saying not support the person, you know what I'm saying, but being like a blind follower. But I would even say I would have probably got into it with Ida B. Wells when she went to Europe. Like, why? What are you doing? Or when she tried to integrate this white bitches march, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing, Ida B. Wells? You know what I'm saying? But that would do the same thing for, and as much as I respect her, but that's any group of, I don't care what like non-Black people they are. If we think that we can have an allyship, I still think that all of it falls in the same lane. And then I could question Ida B. Wells' thing on that and make my own decision not to, you know what I'm saying, deal with that, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I try to even tell her not to deal with it, you know what I'm saying? But like the thing is, like, just because she did it, I wouldn't excuse it. And I wouldn't excuse like any form of, especially any form of like white people, you know what I'm saying? They're all white, you know what I'm saying? Like, and you could take it group by group, you could do it that way, build with them country by country and basis by basis and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, they still are in that class, you know what I'm saying? And I would disagree with her or any leader, you know what I'm saying, on that aspect. But yeah, go ahead, Black Megas.
The book I was talking about is Ida B. Wells, The Light of Truth, Writings of an Anti-Lynching Crusader. If you go to the chapter where she pleads for her race, there's a writing in there that talks about her work in England, and I just want to read something. It says, the resolutions were not passed in the spirit of holier than thou. We told the British press that our reason for coming 3,000 miles was to win the moral force of Great Britain, the country whose opinion America held first.
Damn, Black Megas fell off.
Well,
all right, yo, there you go. Yeah, you fell off for a second, bro. Like for like the last like 10 seconds.
Wow. Hold on, bro. Well, you know, I'm not even going to read that anymore. But did you hear the name of the book at least?
Ida B. Wells, The Light of
Truth, Writings of an Anti-Lynching Crusader. So again, like she's trying to reach out to the humanity of people who are inhumane to begin with. And it's understandable when we factor in Black people feel that we have to have an ally. No one is going to be able to save us from white terrorism, you know, unless we have the acceptance of at least one or two good white folk. I think we throughout the centuries have fallen off the wayside of believing in how powerful that we are by ourselves, that it becomes okay, we have to seek the humanity of somebody else to help us in this plight. If we remember, well, let's just use current day politics. Look at what's the guy, Kitty Mike, right? Getting people to vote for Bernie Sanders. Then you got Omarosa and Candace Owens get on the Trump campaign. Now you got Andrew Yang, who a bunch of I don't know, it looked like it was a bunch of the BLM folk were getting behind them. And it's like, here we go. We're gonna divide black people by having each black person pick a different political person to say, you know, this is the candidate for black people. And then you get people who talk about, you know, black people are not a monolith. You know, we're so diverse and we branch off into so many different things, but we are all still black. And because that they know they can separate our mentality to back something that might sort of agree with one of our principles, somebody who might agree with one of our principles, somebody who will put on the cape and just give us you know, lies instead of actual promises. They'll give us empty promises. They know, again, it's the emotion politics. So we don't even think about honoring sisters like this, who goes off into obscurity of history because nobody wants to talk about her. But then they'll talk about Sojourner Truth. They'll talk about Harriet Tubman, Madam C.J. Walker. They'll talk about those who you can't hide from history, or those who held a lackluster stance of race pride to give you, so that you promote that person, but then they don't tell you about the real people, the real pioneers. Like, even if we talk about who did it first when it comes to the buses, yes, Ida B. Wells definitely did it first. I can't remember the actual sister's name who was the very first. She was a child when she did it, right before Rosa Parks even did it. She's still alive to this day.
Yeah, the young sister in Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it's who gives the narrative at that point. From all accounts that I've listened to of people who were very connected to everything, it is purported that Rosa Parks, that whole thing was a setup from the beginning. And the reason why it even got the national attention that it did was to jumpstart the entire, hey, we got to get this civil rights bill passed, without people paying attention to, okay, well, if we get civil rights and we get desegregation, what does that mean for the black community, for the black economic dollar, for everything that we know that is 100% black and black only? Now we're opening the floodgates to these people being able to commune with us when we know they hold a menial stance towards us.
And let me say this real quick. Hopefully MD2 can come on and speak one time before we close out. You know what I'm saying? I definitely like to hear with that. But because you asked a very good question the other day. But Black Megas, and I'll say this, you know, even with Ida B. Wells, right? Because I understand what you're saying. And even though I personally wouldn't put her in that class where I would, like, I still recognize like her and, like, you know what I'm saying, like everything that she accomplished. And I understand like what you're saying, like how she could be kind of left off of history, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's because she spoke what she spoke, but she was in this top percenter group, but she also spoke against them too, like, you know what I'm saying? That's why she didn't get a lot of support or a lot of funding and stuff like that. And like I said, I understand what you're saying when it comes to that, you know, but like Harriet Tubman would probably shoot me for saying this, you know what I'm saying? Like, but like, if she believed in John Brown, you know what I'm saying, I would be like, yo, John Brown ain't real Harriet Tubman, you know what I'm saying? But that's just me. She would probably like smack me for saying that. But like, that's what I mean. Like, yo, we believe in the white liberal and that it ain't a selfish reason. And even Ida B. Wells, that's what I would disagree with her about. But I like to believe that she would agree, especially at this point in time. And she was up on a lot of game, like, back in that time. And I can't give her a pass only because, like, I set a date for, like, after, like, what, like 1690 something. I don't know. I'm going to set a date, like, after 1700. Like, I can't give a pass for, like, you know what I'm saying, not knowing who your enemy is. So, like, That's the only reason I would say something to her, but like, I don't think that it because I know that she said that at the end of the day, when all the other sisters would have said like, yo, I'm a feminist, she was like, no, I'm race first. She was like on the like Garvey thing. That's why Garvey was dealing with her, because she was like, no, I'm not gonna say feminist, I'm gonna say race first, I'm about black first. I would just say like black only, you know what I'm saying? Bakari still got that problem, but I'm gonna let Shanique go, and then we could go around. Hopefully MG2 come on like for the closeout round, you know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Shanique.
Okay. Yeah, no, I just honestly I feel like that's key. That's that aspect of remembering that we've got one prime directive, because at the end of the day, when we're being divided for various things or how we feel about this, because we're not a monolith. Okay, I may feel this way about abortion, I may feel this way about God, I may feel that way about whether we should stay in this country or whether we should go back to the continent or whatever. At the end of the day, we're still going to get treated the way that we are in appearance. If you're black, they're not concerned. When Amadou Diallo was black, they weren't concerned that he was African. He was black. He got treated harshly and murdered for that reason. So there's so many things that people think that there's a division that makes sense. At the end of the day, when you're black here in this country, we have enough record to know how it is that we're treated. And yes, people want to say, oh, but there are good white people. That may be. That's not my concern. That's not what we need to be focused on. We need to be focused on what it is that individually and collectively we can do to make our presence more than it is now, and not just, oh, we're fodder for the fire to be murdered at will. And it just continues in this cycle. And I think that that's prime reason why we don't hear about Ida B. Wells, because the energy that you said, the energy that she gave was not, oh, I'm gonna lay down and we're just gonna kumbaya, because that's not needed. That's not what gets anyone to become a world power. No, the people who came here and took over this country didn't come here. They may have put under the guise that they came here to be kumbaya, but after they had decimated all of the original natives, then they decided, oh, we finally accomplished our goal. We cannot continue. There'll be no peaceable coexistence. I think that's the idea that has to come across eventually. There can only be one. It's like Highlander. There's not going to be a whole bunch of existing together in peace. And yes, we're black and they recognize it. No, because we've seen already that that's not what it is. So we have to find a way to collectively decide, okay, we're going to get together. We're going to put all our other ideas aside. It doesn't matter what your political views. I don't even think that even matters when it's not recognized in this country. We have all these political different views, yet we're all being treated the same way. It's crazy to me, but I leave.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that. And MG2 said the only disagreement I had with Ida B. Wells, she didn't make herself immortal. Maybe she did, because I try to carry on the spirit and energy of Ida B. Wells, you know what I'm saying, and stuff that she was originally a teacher, right? She talked about history, but she talked about the lynch law. I be trying to tell y'all about the lynch law all the time, but I just do it in the elementary. It's not because of y'all, it's because of who I'm trying to do this for. But like, it's kindergarten here, you know what I'm saying? This is the introduction to black people stuff. This is the introduction to being black, you know what I'm saying? Like, we should give your toddler this lessons when you can, you know what I'm saying? But go ahead, Black Meg, it's my bad.
No, another thing that we have to do is stop allowing people to reclassify our ancestors. Feminism, the term, what I believe it was created in the 1800s, early to mid 1800s, maybe 1830, in France. How is a word that's created in French or France or whatever you want to say, how does that equate to a black woman who, when we look at France in the 1800s, they're going through the rebellion, they're still coming out of their dark age, they're a bunch of Neanderthals. Prostitution is rampant. So when you hear them talking about feminism, all they're talking about is lesbianism. Let's look at what the term feminism means today. It, in essence, means lesbianism. That's it. I know that there are straight women who will call themselves feminists, but then you ask them for their definition of feminism, and then you ask a lesbian for her definition of feminism. They're different. They're 100% different. And when we have people claiming Ida B. Wells was a feminist, Sojourner Truth was a feminist, Harriet Tubman was a feminist, I need you to point out to me where is it that these women stood solely on women's rights and women's equality and women's separation from men to be separate but have equal power. White women even know that they're separate of white men but don't have equal power. This rebranding of our ancestors so that we don't know who they are must stop.
Yeah, and she said it best herself. You know, I'm race first. You know what I'm saying? She said, "Don't classify me as a feminist. Classify me as race first." So Shanique, you want to say something before we close out?
Well, no, I agree with what what Magnus just said, because I really feel like that's something that's happening. It's our responsibility as Black people to keep being the ones to tell the generations before what's really the truth. We cannot rely on their school systems to teach, because they're not going to talk about the real revolutionaries. They're not going to talk about what they're not going to talk about the fact that they ate us. How about that? They're not going to talk about the fact that there was heinous things that they continue to do. The fact that they sent in a robot with a bomb for one man, and that they dropped bombs on cities and buildings that were Black people in, like this is the type of, I don't even know if you want to call it overkill. It's insanity. Yet we look at them like they're normal people, and then we're called upon to say, yeah, it's a complete pattern, and it doesn't change. And we have to be the ones to remind people that this is a pattern that doesn't change. We're up here lending our voices to the idea that, you know, like you said, feminism and all of the alphabet stuff, and that's not our issue. Our issue is the fact that every single existing thing in this country has a voice and an opportunity to have its best life, and we do not, simply because we're Black here. So it's sad to say, they usually want to stop us from leaving, but they do not want to allow or even be involved in a peaceable existence. So we've got to make our own decision to do something. We all have to do something, and everybody has to figure out what that is for them individually, but we have to start doing it, because what we've been doing thus far has not worked, and it's not doing anything. It's just furthering the energy towards the various different avenues of distraction that have zero to do with Black people overcoming. It's crazy. That's kind of it for me.
All right, yeah, definitely. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and close out. This was a lot longer than I thought it was gonna be. I didn't think I was gonna be that long on it, but it's cool, because I'm glad, because like I said, Ida B. Wells is and I had not, you're absolutely right, and it's hard to do that because she did a lot of stuff, and it's up to us to do these things individually. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we have to do that. But understanding where we come from, I think that we are at square one. And I have to salute that Ida B. Wells and her energy, because I think that she was about it. You know what I'm saying? And I respect everything that she did. So I would have to go with her. You know what I'm saying? So whatever leader that you have, you know what I'm saying? And this is not to be a competition. It's just to promote what they did, I believe in this person, and then X, Y, and Z, so that we know more of history, know more people, know more organizations that we can at least choose to support or not. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely want to salute Ida B. Wells for her birthday and everything that she did. So Black Megas, I'm gonna let you go ahead and close out, and then Shanique close out.
Yeah, man. Thank you for putting on this very educational program today, and speaking breath into the names of the ancestors, because this is even your way of pouring libation. We got to call out the names of our ancestors. We need to ask them for guidance, ask them for protection. Not that senseless praying stuff that we see our people are accustomed to when it comes to religion. No, we're talking about a spirituality of knowing that those who came before you put in the work so that you can succeed, because they only want to see you succeed. As you heard Mike Xavier Johnson saying, he was doing this for his people. And so therefore, it is upon us to keep his name alive and keep him in memoriam, just as Ida B. Wells. With that, hey, get ready for Black August. Black August, man. Hey, that's when we that's if you're gonna wait till a month in summer to start dropping weight, let's do it in Black August. Every Black August, we have the 100-mile challenge. I don't care if you gotta bike it, swim it, walk it, climb it, run it, however you gotta get it. Get your 100 miles in. That's the goal. Me and my family, sometimes we try to average like 3.5 a day, but we do have a couple
Wait. You saying like do 100 miles for the month?
Yes.
Like you mean like exercise and kind of like thing, or like what you mean?
Yes, exercise.
Cool.
But you gotta walk it, run it, swim it, bike it, however you need to climb up to your 100 miles for that month. Knock out 100 miles. That's what we do for Black August.
Can I ask you a question? Like, say if I was walking, like, could you break it down in like a mathematical, like, yo, you walk this many miles a day, then you would accomplish that?
Well, if you do about 3.5 to 4 miles a day, by the time that August 31st came, you would basically be done with everything that you need to do. You get that knocked out. If you take a day of rest, then try to double it up the next day. If you got to go to the store on a day, park at the back of the parking lot. Do whatever it is you need to do to actually get those steps in. Because without our health, everything else that we're talking about, and I mean that could be said on a lot of different aspects. We as we know, but I mean if we're not serious about our health, then what will we be serious about? Without that heart, you can't do much. Without that brain, you can't do much. So treat those things and take care of them. And if you need to see more information, just go over to the Black Family Vanguard page on Instagram. I do have last year's challenge on there. If you scroll down to some of the earlier postings, even me and my family, us doing a couple of 9-mile hikes and things like that. So
yeah, that's dope. And you could definitely put your IG in the chat. I feel that. And that's why I be trying to say, like, maybe I have an excuse. And like people act like, because that's a part of like watching over your own neighbor. Like, why wouldn't you be walking around your blocks that you live in? Maybe I have an excuse because I have a dog. So like I do it every morning. Like some days I don't do it when it's storming or I may be tired or something. But yeah, I walk around all the time. You know what I'm saying? And you could quote unquote call it like, but you are aware, you see wild stuff that happen. But I'm not gonna get into it. I'll wait till Shanique go and then I'll say that with my clothes off. So go ahead, Shanique. My bad.
Oh, no problem. I appreciate that you did this show. I feel like there was a lot I learned, and that's sad to say because I'm up there. But the truth is, you always put out so much information that is needed, and I appreciate that. I totally agree with being healthy. We need to look at it as an important part of our lives as Black people. It needs to be a focus. We're the kings and queens of making whatever position we're in work. But the truth of the matter is we do need to worry about that. I think that the statement that stuck in my head during this whole show is that the revolution will not be televised. And that and then I thought about Sister Soldier and I was like, we are at war. Like we're not thinking that way. And the truth of the matter is our health, physically, mentally, spiritually, however you approach it, you have to approach it as if we here exist in this place, but this is not our home. And I think that people are trying to make too many tie down too many leads to, oh, this being our place of staying. At the end of the day, if we know that every day we're not promised the next day and we could die at any day, that, okay, where is my true home? Now, whatever you believe that is, then that's what you're seeking, right? So we have to live like we want for everyone that looks like us to be seeking existence beyond what we've done so far, if that makes sense. I feel like the people who came in the past had a clearer view of what it was to be Black because it was unfiltered. There was no ha 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 kiki, no smile in our face. It was raw, unadulterated hatred, and they saw it. And we see it, but we only get glimpses of it. And so sometimes we forget, or we get distracted, or we walk around thinking that, oh, it's really about the bag, or it's really about notoriety, or really about something other than the fact that you want your children and your mother and your father and your family to be able to walk the streets safely and to live and have healthy, clean water, food, all of the things that everyone here expects in this country, but we don't get it and we haven't been getting it. So that said, we all have to seek out a way in which to use whatever resources. And I say use it with subtlety because we know, just like earlier with the snafus on this system, that not everybody wants us to have that position in this world, but we have to train and we have to think about, we are not just living here, we are soldiers. And whether that be soldiers for y'all that I consider myself, or whether that just be soldiers for Black people, but we are soldiers and we have to train and keep that in mind. This is a war. We're under attack every day, whether we accept it or not. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Shanique, Black Megas. I appreciate both of y'all. And Shanique, I would say, it'd probably be televised, then won't be. It'll be everywhere. You know what I'm saying? When it's the real revolution, you look out your front door, everywhere, everything. When you realize what it is, then everything is the revolution. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's not to sound like all spooked out or nothing like that. And I want to say this because we do make everything spooked out, and that's what I mean about starting back from the basics, because even with what you talking about with this 100-mile challenge, and even what MG2 talked about, patrolling, like we think is like meaning, oh yeah, let me do a stakeout in my community. No, like, I'm sitting there walking my dog. I like to walk at least try to do an hour every day. Some days maybe 30 minutes, some days 45, but I try to walk at least an hour every day. You know what I'm saying? Not only for that, but for my health. But I'm also in a community that is Black, you know what I'm saying? From the one I grew up in and from the one now. So like, when you don't have to be Spider-Man to quote unquote patrol your own neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I just would like to feel like, we need backup, but if we find every excuse not to, and we'll allow other people to come into our circles, you know what I'm saying? That's why I even talk about stuff like with the cookout, because maybe that's the only thing we can understand, you know what I'm saying? Because this is like, it's almost like elementary to us, and as far as Ida B. Wells, I have to say happy birthday to her, and I feel like she would agree with me on this term right now, and she was starting to realize it herself. And like I said, when we have our own thing, then it's important to protect it and to realize the things that we have really done. And so when we out here saying we got to be Spider-Man to patrol out, it's not patrol. You just walking around your neighborhood, making sure everything good. And more times than not, it's not. I've had Black men say stuff to me when I've done stuff I wasn't supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it wasn't even like negative. That's the thing. We got to get that out of our mind, that we think it got to be negative, or you got to be doing some I spy stuff to say that, oh, like, yeah, like we can't say spooked out things. Like, we have spooked out beliefs, and anybody that we celebrate or that should be a hero, we try to find something negative, or, and that goes for like a lot of people. And the only reason why you don't hear as much about Ida B. Wells negative, because, like a lot of people don't talk about her at all. You feel me? So I think that she should definitely live on. And, I'll say this, and I'm going to let this be the last words, because not only is this...
Forecast.
Yeah, go ahead, my brother.
Let me say this real quick. When we talk about the revolution will not be broadcast or televised, I think that's false. Because tell me, in every way that they're oppressing us, tell me how are they not putting it in their news media for us to see, only to further put that fear into us to not stand up and do anything. The revolution is always being televised. It's upon the people to choose the battlefield that they want. They just need some courage pumped into them.
Yeah, that's a fact, and it's being televised, but it's also at when you go to their convenience stores too. You know what I'm saying? Like, or you get nervous when they pull you over. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of that, anything that you do, like Fred Hampton said, and you can feel how you want about him because he was on the people of color thing too. But he said, if all you could do is spit, then spit. You know what I'm saying? And everything it will be televised, and it won't be. It'll be in your front door, and it'll be on your TV. You know what I'm saying? When it's a real revolution, you know. So not only was it Ida B. Wells' birthday, right? My brother Bobby put me on. This was the day that the brother John Henry Clarke passed away. So that's why I played like John Henry Clarke at the beginning, and I'll play it again just so he can have the last words because this was the day that he passed away too. And I think my brother Bobby put up a shot of Shakur. I think it was. My brother Bobby be knowing stuff. But I think it's her birthday or something. But this is the day that John Henry Clarke had passed away. So I'll let him have the last words for today, you know.
First, we have to stop dealing with illusion. We cannot ask the people who programmed us into oblivion to program us out of it. So far as I'm concerned, education has but one honorable purpose, one alone. Everything else is nonsense. And that is to train the student to be a respectful and a responsible handler of power. People do not train you and how to take their power away from them when they hold power by controlling you. To expect this of other people is a contradiction in terms. Freedom is something you do not wish upon, you do not dream upon. Freedom is something you take with your own hands. It is never secure until you take it with your own hands. You do not leave it for another generation. Each generation must in turn secure it with their own hands, even if you leave it to them in a will. It is not secure until they make it secure with their own hands, their own bodies, and their own minds. And so long as we avoid this reality, someone else is going to dictate the content of education. And when people dictate the content of education, they're dictating what goes into your mind. And when they dictate that, they're going to dictate agitation. They're going to dictate your action. And though you might lie about it, so long as you are in this position, you are some form of a slave. And it is incumbent upon you to free yourselves from it. You educate yourself to come out of it and do not expect others to do it for you. We stop begging at the door of people who reduced us to beggars.
I keep doing that.
With other people in the world. There's a whole lot of illusion about our relationship to the religions in the world. And these belief systems that had its origin in Africa, all of them, and there is no exception, turned on African people. I said there is no exception. And there's one thing you have to get through your mind and keep it. Nothing that ever came from the European mind was meant to do anything but facilitate European domination of the world. And I said there's no exception. Imperialism. Who are you kidding about friends in the world? Damn it, if you want a friend, look in the mirror. African people on the face of this earth? Why are you buying third-rate junk from third-rate people thinking you can't make it? Why don't you at least make a safety pin to hold your child's diaper together? Teach. Who has programmed your mind to thinking you can't make a car? The first man that made a car that had never seen one previously. The Japanese bought cars, bought locomotives, broke them down and studied them, and had a Japanese technician produce each piece, put it together, and had a much better train than the one they copied from. All knowledge in the world belongs to everybody in the world. Yes. Who has programmed our mind in assuming that we cannot run a nation and run it well?
All right, yo. So shout out to Dr. John Henry Clark. Shouts out to Ida B. Wells. Shouts out to people in the 65 Watts riot, all of them. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who has done anything to help us, you know. I appreciate you, Black Megas, Shanique, you know, Raw, I appreciate you for being here. And my brother MD2 in the building, I appreciate you. Cassandra, Eyes Wide Open. It's been like years you've been on here, but appreciate you, bro, for coming through. Koku, Miss Vita, definitely shouts out to Miss Vita. Bakari was in the building. Shouts out to Bakari. You know, I appreciate shouts out to Erica, you know what I'm saying? Make sure y'all salute Erica and everybody that came through. Koku, you know, I appreciate all of y'all for listening. And you know, like I said, it will be televised and it won't be televised. But at the end of the day, we are all we got. So as always, man, we have got to start standing for something, or we're gonna keep falling for anything.